Good morning to everyone.
Morning!
Good morning po, ma'am. Good morning.
Hello, good morning. This is Balu. Are you able to hear me?
Good morning,
Yes, sir, we can
Balu.
hear you.
Good morning, Director Balu.
Good. You're able to hear me.
Good morning, Balu.
Good morning.
Namaste.
Good morning. Good morning, Apo Anton. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Good morning,
Good morning,
Balu.
The
Good
beautiful
morning.
Congresswoman from the north.
With your blessing, Apo.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning, Balu.
Morning, Father Pascal.
Good morning, Sir Balu. Namaste.
Namaste.
Morning, everyone.
Hi, Roy.
Morning po. Morning, Congresswoman. Ano na umaga?
Roy,
Magandang umaga, kapatid.
Roy, di lang anghel
Yes, sir.
yan.
Kapatid Roy.
Nagbilang anghel si Roy.
Morning, Father. Morning,
Morning,
Balu.
sir.
Morning.
Magandang umaga po sa lahat. Mula po sa Liga ng mga Officer. Good morning po.
Good
Good
morning,
morning,
Ma'am Celia.
Ma'am Celia, good morning.
Opo, good morning po. Nag-invite din po ako ng ibang co-op officers. They may be joining us later po.
Great, great.
Congratulations! Nag-uumpisa pa lang tayo.
Good morning, Madam Celia.
Good morning po.
Congratulations. Andiyan na yata si Chair Gary. Doc Gary, good morning, sir.
Morning,
Chair.
Father. Morning.
Morning, Chairman.
Good morning, everyone.
Good
Balu,
morning.
are you still in the US? Balu?
Yes, that's correct. I leave for India in a couple of days' time.
Okay.
But
So
yes, still in the US.
it's early evening there.
That's correct. That's correct. Around
Okay.
6:30. Around 6, I
Okay.
think. 6.
Yep. Good.
Sir Tony, good morning, sir.
Yes, sir. Good morning and good evening to Director
Good
Balu.
morning, everyone.
Yes. We shall start our event and the discussion because this is a very important and timely topic that we'll get into. So we will start in about 5 minutes. If we could encourage everyone to invite more participants for our discussion this morning. It's the best discussion to start the week. And happy Cooperative Month to everyone. Thank you.
Morning, Jessica.
Morning, Father.
Open naman. Bihong ko nang gusto na yun ng background. Sige daw. Pero mo ko na yun.
Di ba? Tara na kampanya na tayo.
Ano?
Na kampanya na tayo. Baka maubos na tayo ng boto para sa co-op. Ang dami.
Ma'am Celia,
Dapat
sobra.
sigurado ka makapasok para makapag-stop ako sa iyong presentado.
With your support, Ma'am Celia, we will win.
Yes, of course. Basta kulay kooperatiba, doon tayo.
Oo, tatak. Hindi lang kulay. Tatak sa dugo.
Pure ha? Hindi.
Yeah, of course.
No.
Parang honey na original. Galing mismo ng sinipsip ng honey sa wild area.
Ayoko man sabihin parang COVID.
Sa jungle.
Natatak.
Sinipsip sa jungle ang true honey.
Meron din kami ganyan mga genuine honey.
Ayan.
Produced by our honey bee. Multi-purpose po.
Oh, talaga. Hindi siya cultured yon. Cultured yon.
Oo.
Mm. Pagka ganitong mga event, Ma'am Celia, na parang iba yung ramdam mo na kasiyahan, no? Na may mga formal na activities, gathering together, no? Na iisa yung hangad, matuto
Yes,
sa
ma'am.
sektor ng kooperatiba.
Okay.
Iba yung books.
Sabi ko yung isang kulay, Pero pag dito makikita mo, galing kasi sa iba-ibang co-op. Primaries, tapos hanggang mga tertiary, gano'n. Malalaki, maliliit. Iba-ibang kulay, biglang pumasok yung iba-ibang. Basta may intention. That's the essence of cooperatives.
Yeah, it's more
Ganda ng
on
polo mo,
cooperative enterprise.
Salamat.
Ping, ano ba yan?
Gusto ko yung kulay ng polo, long sleeve mo, Doc Paul.
Salamat.
Sir Roy,
Yes.
pagka-pink, sigurado maluwang ang gate sa'yo. Pagka-pink, maluwang ang gate sa'yo in the future, ha? Huwag mo kaming kalimutan, Sir Roy.
Naka-pink na ako eh. Pink and blue.
Kaya nga eh. Diyos ko.
Hindi, kailangan manalo yung co-op.
Yeah, basta ang hangad naman natin lahat, Sir Roy, kahit sino yung pasusuportahan sa national, basta may pusong kooperatiba, tatak kooperatiba, suwabe sa community.
Yung sinusuportahan ko, siguradong may puso sa co-op yun.
Kaya
Sigurado,
nga,
sigurado
I
ako.
know.
Yes,
Ano
and
rubbing elbows kayo eh. Hindi lang kalabit eh. Rubbing elbows talaga. Siko to siko kayo eh.
Truly.
Sigurado ako dyan,
Naalala
may
ko pa
puso
yung
po.
nung naging guest speaker natin siya sa MSCB, talagang tinawag ang pangalan. Napakalayo mo, tinawag pa rin ang pangalan mo.
Di naman. Natandaan lang siguro ko.
Nice, nice.
Okay. Good morning, everyone, from our local allies to our international friends. The strength and growth of a tree is not solely judged by the length of its branches. While unseen, it is in the roots where we can measure the tree's integrity. In the ever-increasing role that cooperatives play for the local and international community, it is always important to revisit our roots, ang ating mga ugat, our identity that guides us as we participate in community building. Today is a very special day, in a very special month. Today, we revisit our roots together with our fellow local cooperators and international allies. Truly, cooperativism is a very global stage. Amidst the pandemic and ravages it brought against us, with the backdrop of COVID-19, we are here together to celebrate, participate, and remember our values and principles. I am one of your hosts, Ray John Santiago. I'm together with Ma'am Cheska Gintok Garais. We are from the Philippine Cooperative Center. We welcome you today in our international forum, prepared by our fellow cooperatives and organizations, with the special mention and special participation of the International Cooperative Alliance. Thank you very much for attending. Maayong buntag, magandang umaga, good morning.
Yes, Ray, and to our cooperative leaders who want to discuss more about cooperative identity and deepen our understanding and appreciation of the same. I know you're very excited to get into it. However, for a more harmonious discussion this morning, may we just have this house rules for everyone to follow. So may we invite everyone, despite the cloudy weather and the rains outside, hopefully you could ensure a stable internet connection and a quiet working environment to avoid disruption and unnecessary noise. More so for clear voice and audio, and to minimize the background noise, and the use of headset and earphones with built-in microphones such as this one, and I think Ray's using a black one. We highly recommend this. And for us to appropriately address you during the open forum, may we request that you indicate your co-op name or organization in acronym, as well as your full name in your Zoom profile. And we hope that you could keep your audio on mute despite the enthusiasm not to get into the discussion, but we will have the appropriate time later on during our program for the open discussion. Please observe the proper meeting decorum, and when you turn on your video, make sure you're wearing appropriate attire, and hopefully you could share, you could use the Zoom background that our secretariat is currently sending through the Zoom chat box. Yeah, you could just click on the link and then upload the photo, either the purple one or the white one, whichever you could use. And during the Q&A, participants who wish to speak shall click the raise hand button, and or if you want to have your questions recorded, you can indicate them through the chat box. And for the next slide, yes, please check our Zoom chat box for the attendance link provided by the PCC Secretariat so that we could send to you the presentations for this morning's discussion. And for those who cannot access the attendance link, kindly provide the following details through chat: your cooperative name, your name, and then your designation, contact number, and most importantly, your email address through the chat box. The presentation, certificate of attendance, as well as participation shall be forwarded through the email address that you have sent. And with that, Ray, are we ready? But before that, to be appropriately guided by through our discussion and forum this morning, may we just invite everyone to join us through our opening prayer, to be followed by the Philippine National Anthem. Thank you.
Dear God, thank you for the opportunity to meet together. Please help us to come together to make this institution reflect your kingdom. Breathe life into our ideas and decisions. Help us build a team that has love and respect at its heart. Give us the strength to continue working for your kingdom in this time of pandemic. Lord, come give us the inspiration to be the best we can be. May we be a shining example of your goodness and truth within, wherever we are. Inspire our thoughts, discussions, and ideas, and continue to remind us that all that we do here today, all that we accomplish, is for the pursuit of truth for the greater glory of you. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Please
Mga
rise
kababayan,
for the Philippine National
ang
Anthem.
pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Again, good morning. The one to lead us for the cooperative pledge is one of the dear board of directors of PCC. And I will just mention some of her credentials. So the one to lead us for the cooperative pledge is the current Chief Executive Officer of Nueva Segovia Consortium of Cooperatives and its affiliate organizations, the President of Macro Colleges, also being managed by the NSCC, a CEO, private sectoral representative for National Economic Development Authority, or NEDA. She is also sectoral representative for the cooperatives to the National Anti-Poverty Commission, or the NAPC. She is currently a third nominee for the Co-op-NATCO party list for the upcoming elections, the chairperson for the Regional Cooperative Development Council, and she is one of our sweetest and most beautiful directors in the board of Philippine Cooperative Center. Would like to present to you Ma'am Divina S. Kemi. Ma'am.
Thank you so much, Ray. International guest, Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao cooperative leaders. Magandang umaga sa inyong lahat. Maayong buntag. Naimbag nga bigat. Assalamualaikum. Together, we recite the cooperative pledge. As a Filipino, I am and I believe in the cooperative. Alone, I am weak, but with others, I am strong. So, I commit myself to work, to cooperate, for all to be prosperous. Harmony, industry, I will value. Cooperative affairs, I will attend. Responsibilities, I will assume. The cooperative philosophy, I will live. One vision, one belief, one feeling. In cooperativism, my life, I pledge. So help me God.
Thank you very much, Ma'am Divine. The next, for a video message from our dear chairman of the CDA, I'd like to present, he's a proud alumnus of Ateneo de Davao University, where he completed his bachelor's degree in sociology in 1997. He first worked in the city government of Davao for 2 years under the leadership of then Mayor Rodrigo Duterte, and joined the Philippine Sports Commission for 10 years. As a true advocate of cooperativism, he is a proud member of Tagum Cooperative and El Grande Multipurpose Cooperative, and served as an officer of Mediation Conciliation Committee at the latter. At 2016, he joined the Assistant Secretary of the Presidential Management Staff for the Regional Concerns and concurrent head of the Office of the President. And just this year, he was appointed as the new chairman of Cooperative Development Authority. To show us a video message, welcome our CDA Chairman Yusek Joseph Joy Encabo.
To the Philippine Cooperative Center, International Cooperative Alliance, One CISP, NAPCO Network, and to all cooperatives and partners in the movement, my warmest greetings to all of you. I would like to welcome all of you in this series of virtual forums spearheaded by the Philippine Cooperative Center. As we celebrate the National Cooperative Month, it is important to recognize and acknowledge our roots. Cooperativism is part of our everyday lives. We embody a sense of belonging, oneness, and community help to promote each other's growth and well-being. Through the cooperatives, we are able to build resilience, sustain economic growth, and contribute towards nation building. This month of October,
Okay, I think we are
celebrate the collective identity of over 18,000 cooperatives in the country. A Philippine cooperative movement with shared vision, shared actions, and one goal. Sa kooperatibang matatag, walang maiiwan. Sama-sama natin tahakin ang daan tungo sa tagumpay ng sektor ng kooperatibang Pilipino. To the hardworking leaders, staff, and personnel of PCC, keep on charging and strive for excellence. Adopt the collaborative dialogue because you are all leaders in your own way. I wish you all the best. And maraming salamat po. Mabuhay po kayong lahat.
Yes, thank you for that video message. Actually, Yusek Joy is currently at Malacanang. That's why he has sent this video last night at around 10 p.m. because he wished to greet everyone who has joined here in our forum. From one leader to another, I would like to introduce for another welcome remarks the very passionate, principled, and yet very intelligent notable leader in the co-op sector, no? The very chairperson of the Philippine Cooperative Center, San Dionisio Credit Cooperative, and PCF, and many more. Without any further ado, actually, he needs no introduction kasi everyone knows him through his very kind heart and very genuine actions. Let us hear it from Dr. Garibaldi O. Leonardo. Sir, good morning.
Good morning, Cheska, and salamat for a very generous introduction. At magandang umaga sa ating lahat. First and foremost, good morning, or should I rather say good evening, to ICA Asia Pacific Regional Director Balu Ayer. And then I also wish to acknowledge CDA Chair Yusek Joy and Cabo. And good morning, Co-op NATCO Party List candidate, fellow director at PCC, Dr. Divine Kemi. And thank you for leading us in the cooperative pledge earlier. Good morning also to the representatives of the 10 other ICA member cooperatives from the Philippines. Hindi ko na iisa-isahin yung 10, no? Good morning, fellow cooperators, and happy National Cooperative Month sa ating lahat. For and in behalf of the Philippine Cooperative Center and our co-host, the United Cooperative Movement of the Philippines, or UCMP, represented here by Chair Lucy Puro, I wish to welcome you all to this morning's forum on Day with the ICA. I would also like to thank ICA President Ariel Guarco for obliging us with a video message that we will listen to later, and CDA Chair Yusek Joy for a similarly pre-recorded video message. Of course, thank you also to Asia Pacific Regional Director Balu for obliging us with his virtual presentation on cooperative identity, as well as to our panel of reactors. Just to name them, we have one CISP Chair, Father Anton Pascual, NATCO Chair Tony Arañas, and MASPEC CEO Nadet Toledo, with closing remarks to be rendered later by Climb CEO Noel Raboy. Thank you all. As indicated in our invite, our forum today is specifically meant to bring to the surface both the overarching and the underlying need for us, first, to ponder upon, second, to deepen, and third, to promote and live out our cooperative identity. Redundant as it may sound, this is particularly in the face and in the midst of this continuing crisis that hounds us all to this very day. As we are all aware of, cooperative identity is one of the 5 pillars upon which ICA's 2030 agenda for cooperatives stands. Well, with the 4 other pillars being participation, sustainability, legal framework, and capital. And as we are all aware of also, these 5 pillars in turn are grounded on the 7 cooperative principles, which are what make us fundamentally different from other forms of enterprise, including other social enterprises. To my mind, if we really think about it, identity appears to pervade over or encompass the 4 other pillars. It is also embedded in the 7 cooperative principles and is clearly reflected in the 2030 vision of ICA for cooperatives, which is essentially for cooperatives to be the acknowledged leader in economic, social, and environmental sustainability, the model preferred by the people, and the fastest growing form of enterprise. So we ask, why the need then to ponder upon, to deepen, and to promote our cooperative identity? Will doing so significantly bear on how we face up to the challenges that confront us? And what are some of those things that we may need to specifically reflect on? Well, this we look forward to being enlightened on by Balu in his presentation and by our panel of reactors thereafter. I may be wrong, and I hope I'm wrong. But I think, for one, clarity in our cooperative identity still appears wanting or lacking to some, if not many of us. And it is something that we may need to work on, both at the level of the individual and of the organization. Then, after having been clear on our identity, we would also need to be able to project that identity through appropriate messaging or branding. For instance, the wearing of our co-op integration shirts, as well as our respective co-op uniforms in our co-op related activities, is seen as a positive step towards that direction. Moreover, if, for instance, many private corporations are themselves getting into some image buildup or makeover by strongly engaging in such endeavors as those relating, for instance, to social solidarity economy, or SSE, and or corporate social responsibility, or CSR, then more so can we and our respective cooperatives leverage fully on a strength that is, in effect, inherent to us, which is our cooperative identity. This, among others, I'm sure, will be brought to fore again by Balu and our reactors. We have, I would say, made significant strides in this regard, especially during the pandemic. Our co-op identity was particularly made manifest when we lived out our co-op principles, notably concern for community and cooperation among cooperatives. That, to me, is co-op identity at work, which is our being, or which defines our being as cooperators. It is also that which is expressly reflected in our theme for our celebration of National Cooperative Month. Kooperatibang matatag, tumutugon sa mga hamon, daan sa pagbangon, nagbibigay pag-asa sa makabagong panahon. Well, for the sake of our foreign guests, Balu, that theme actually translates to resilient cooperatives responding to challenges, seen as the path to recovery, providing hope during these modern times, no matter how turbulent this may be at present. Muli, isang magandang umaga at maligayang buwan ng mga kooperatiba sa ating lahat. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. It's a very, very timely message and welcoming remarks. So for our solidarity message, I would like to call on another fellow cooperator, currently the chairperson of the National Cooperative Development Council and the current chairperson of the United Cooperative Movement in the Philippines. Let me welcome another beautiful fellow cooperator, Ma'am Lucia G. Furo.
Magandang umaga at maraming salamat, Ray John, for the nice introduction. My warmest greeting to our honored guests from the International Cooperative Alliance, our Chairperson of the Cooperative Development Authority, USEC Joy and Cabo, our resource persons from the 1CISP, the NATCO network, the Mass Spec, clients, our fellow cooperators, and of course, our chairperson from the Philippine Cooperative Center, Sir Gary. A pleasant good morning to everyone. As mandated by Republic Act number 11502, October of every year is recognized as the National Cooperative Month. We also reflect upon the cooperative movement's history, promote its achievements, recognize hard work, and share member experiences through various activities lined up for the month. The values statement addresses our convictions about how to achieve a better nation and what form that nation should take. Solidarity among cooperatives are based on the assumption that there is strength in mutual self-help and that the cooperative has a collective responsibility for the well-being of its members. Further, individual cooperatives strive to create a united cooperative movement by working with other cooperatives to improve our collective well-being. The United Cooperative Movement of the Philippines, or UCMP, is a unifying initiative of the cooperative sector that is led by the Philippine Cooperative Center, federations, unions, primaries, cooperative NATCO party list, or CNPL in the House of Representatives, the National Cooperative Development Council, the League of Cooperative Development Officers of the Philippines, or LCDO, and other stakeholders across the country joins the whole nation in this year's series of activities in celebration of our Cooperative Month. The National Cooperative Development Council wishes to congratulate the lead convener of this first month-long celebration of Cooperative Month, the Philippine Cooperative Center. In today's discussion, the cooperative identity will unite us to work for the common good. Our values and principles gives millions of people control of their own lives, their future, and serve as the strong foundation that sets cooperative apart from other types of organizations. Today, we have more than 18,000 members in the cooperative movement in the Philippines, and we hope to really unite our sector so that we will be singing the same tune all over the country. I hope with this topic that we are going to discuss, may we have a productive discussion and mabuhay ang kooperatiba. Sa ngalan po ng NCDC, binabati ko po ang lahat ng ating mga lead conveners at ang ating pong mga participants sa event na ito. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Ma'am Lucy, and magandang umaga din po. And now we would also like to acknowledge, since this initiative is, although it's brought to you by PCC and the UCMP, we would like to acknowledge the affiliates from Philippines to the ICA. If we could just have them. A while ago, they were being presented through our loop. So first we have PCC, the Philippine Cooperative Center, which was founded on the common desire of its members to make the cooperative movement a strong and important player in the economy and respond to the rapid changes in the environment. PCC acts as a body that coordinates with national cooperative networks in the country. It serves as a unifying center that will strive for excellence and competitiveness, create partnerships, and ensure the accountability of the cooperative movement. All these profiles are actually also available through the website of ICA. And for the next affiliate, Ray?
Sorry about that. For our next athlete, it was first organized as a small provider of life insurance protection to Filipinos, particularly farmers, workers, members of cooperatives, labor unions, and co-op-oriented groups and organizations not covered by the government service insurance system or the social security system. To date, this cooperative has more than 2,885 cooperative members and insuring over 900,000 individuals annually. So, one CISP or one cooperative insurance system in the Philippines.
Yes, and for the next member, we have Aurora Integrated Multipurpose Cooperative, or AIMCOP. AIMCOP is a savings and loans cooperative. AIMCOP focuses on savings mobilization and capital buildup for its members through high rates of return on interest in savings and time deposits. AIMCOP is dedicated to poverty elimination and elimination of capitalism. They have over 80 offices serving almost 1 million members nationwide. They have online banking system. They offer and has a lot of ATMs nationwide. They offer services including trading, funeral services, marketing, gas stations, hospital, medical services, life and non-life insurance, training, exercising political affairs of members, and other utility services as needed by members and community. For the next cooperative,
Climbs Life and General Insurance Cooperative is a life and non-life insurance cooperative duly licensed by both the Cooperative Development Authority and the Insurance Commission, born in Cagayan de Oro City. Founded in 1971 by the late Attorney Mordina Cua and Attorney Aquilino Pimentel Sr., Climb started by bringing mutual protection to its members as an alternative to insurance products offered by big traditional insurance companies, especially in Visayas and Mindanao.
and for another member from the Philippines in the International Cooperative Alliance, we have the CDA, Cooperative Development Authority, which is a government agency created pursuant to Republic Act number 6938 in fulfillment of Section 5, Article 7 of the Philippine Constitution, which mandates the creation of an agency that would promote the viability and growth of the cooperatives as instruments of equity, social justice, and sustainable economic development.
Federation of People's Sustainable Development Cooperatives, or FPSDC, is a secondary type cooperative with membership composed of NGOs, people's organization, and cooperatives nationwide that provide financial and non-financial services to empower marginalized sectors, ensuring the development of its stakeholders, and preservation of the environment, while ensuring economic viability and the ultimate hope of promoting harmonious coexistence within and among the communities.
Next is Maspec Cooperative Development Center. Maspec Cooperative Development Center is the oldest and largest cooperative federation in the Philippines. Maspec services to its affiliate cooperatives have evolved over the years, and right now it has a central fund which pools surplus funds of cooperatives for on-lending to cooperatives with financial needs. It has an information and communication technology unit that provides software solutions and ATM services, a consultancy unit that provides technical support and advice, and the research and development unit. Its education training services are managed by the Institute of Cooperative Studies, which is still an integral unit of the Federation.
Metro South Cooperative Bank. Metro South Cooperative Bank, or MSCB. The Metro South Cooperative Bank is the first cooperative bank in the National Capital Region It is a unique bank registered with the Cooperative Development Authority as a cooperative and with the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas as a bank under the Cooperation and Rural Banking System. Their mission is to provide quality banking services of all our stakeholders and strengthen the cooperative movement.
And next we have, actually this organization or cooperative has a current seat in the regional board of ICAAP, the National Confederation of Cooperatives, NATCO, with a mission to build the socio-economic capabilities of cooperatives. NATCO offers a wide array of services clustered under 3 components: business loans, deposits, management of the stabilization fund, resiliency fund, payment services, including remittances and conditional cash transfers. It also provides support services, which include education, training, and consultancy, information technology, microfinancing, innovation in cooperatives, and advocacies for youth, gender and development, overseas Filipinos and families, disaster risk reduction and management, also monitoring, inspection, and supervision services through the stabilization fund system, which they will actually discuss tomorrow during the finance cluster forum. And next, Ray.
Network of Consolidated Cooperative Bank, or the NCCB. Network Consolidated Cooperative Bank is a consolidated network of 6 cooperative banks. The Cooperative Bank of Agusan del Sur, Cooperative Bank of Camarines Norte, Cooperative Bank of Leyte, Capiz Settlers Cooperative Rural Bank, Sorsogon Provincial Cooperative Bank, and the Southern Leyte Cooperative Bank. Next.
We have the Union of Legitimative Service Contracting Cooperatives, or ULSC. It is a union of 27 labor service cooperatives. They are the government's partner in job generation, job facilitation, and security by contributing to the continuous training and development of worker skills required by industry. They are the union of job contractors and subcontractors.
Victo National Cooperative Federation. Victo National is a federation of cooperative societies which provides various services to its members and other clients. These include education and training, consulting, project development, business incubation, and enterprise development. Victo National is renowned for being the only cooperative which received the Benigno S. Aquino Foundation Award for its work in disadvantaged communities. In addition, Victo National was also the first awardee for the development management sponsored by the World Executive Digest in Japan. Okay, so again, thank you for those with us today, and we welcome our fellow cooperators, and as such, welcoming us with a video message from across the globe. He is the president of the Confederation of Cooperatives of Argentina since 2011. The Confederation of Cooperatives of Argentina works with 74 cooperative federations, 5,000 cooperatives, and 10 million members. So the president, Mr. Guarco, is also the president of the Federation of Electric Public Services Cooperatives of the province of Buenos Aires. Since 2008, he is the author of the book, The Argentine Cooperative Movement, A Hopeful Look into the Future. He is also a member of ICA's Global Board since 2013 and Deputy Vice President of Cooperatives of the Americas since 2014. He has been elected President of the International Cooperative Alliance during the Alliance General Assembly held on 17 in Malaysia. Because of the time zone difference and due to the fact that he is currently visiting ICA Global Athletes, Mr. Coarco will not be able to join us today, but will be instead sharing a video message to us. So, present to you the President of the International Cooperative Alliance, Mr. Ariel Coarco.
Hola, queridos amigos del Philippine Cooperative Center. Queridos amigos del movimiento cooperativo filipino, es un placer para mí poder compartir con ustedes algunas ideas en este mes tan especial. Sin dudas, el Mes Nacional de las Cooperativas es una excelente oportunidad para seguir mostrando la fortaleza y la potencia del movimiento cooperativo en vuestro país. Un modelo capaz de generar trabajo decente, de promover la producción y el consumo responsables, y de llevar adelante innovaciones que mejoren la calidad de vida de todas las personas. Un modelo que es vital para que cada comunidad local, nacional y regional pueda recuperarse del impacto que ha significado para todos la pandemia del COVID-19. La resiliencia que ha mostrado el cooperativismo, una vez más, ante situaciones críticas como esta, está basada en su identidad. Una identidad construida a lo largo de casi 2 siglos y reafirmada a escala global con la declaración aprobada en el Congreso de Manchester que realizó la Alianza Cooperativa Internacional en 1995. Como parte de esa identidad, podemos exhibir valores y principios que nos hermanan mundialmente y que nos posicionan como la mayor red global de empresas arraigadas en cada uno de sus territorios, con la capacidad de ser, al mismo tiempo, económicamente eficientes y socialmente responsables. Esto es, contribuir al crecimiento de cada territorio donde estamos insertos, distribuyendo al mismo tiempo las oportunidades necesarias para que nadie se quede atrás. Las cooperativas llevamos adelante una economía centrada en el bien común. Por eso, ratificamos para la próxima década nuestra visión de ser líderes en la sostenibilidad económica, social y ambiental, ser el modelo preferido por la gente y ser el tipo de organización empresarial de más rápido crecimiento. Esto lo podemos hacer en cada localidad, en cada país, en cada región y a escala global. Esa es nuestra propuesta, desde la Alianza Cooperativa Internacional, y es lo que motiva la consigna de nuestro próximo Congreso Mundial, que llevaremos adelante del 1 al 3 de diciembre en Seúl. Profundizar nuestra identidad cooperativa es, además de la consigna de este Congreso, una invitación para que sigamos construyendo entre todos una salida justa, pacífica y solidaria de esta crisis sanitaria, económica, social y ambiental que afecta a toda la humanidad. Estoy seguro de que el movimiento cooperativo filipino y toda la región de Asia-Pacífico seguirán haciendo aportes fundamentales para atender a esta propuesta de reconstruir mejor juntos. Espero que este foro, así como todas las actividades que realicen en este mes nacional de las cooperativas, los impulsen a seguir fortaleciendo a sus organizaciones y a seguir ganando terreno en los ámbitos económicos, políticos y culturales de su país. Los felicito por el trabajo que realizan. Los invito a seguir profundizando en nuestra identidad cooperativa y a compartir sus valiosos aportes con el resto del movimiento cooperativo mundial. Les deseo una excelente jornada y les envío a la distancia un fuerte abrazo cooperativo.
Thank you very much for that inspiring message. We are with you, President Huarco, in your upcoming Congress, and we are with you for pushing for an alternative and sustainable economic, social, and environmental activities. For our next part, we will now be introducing our resource speaker. And to introduce our resource speaker, I will call on one of the most responsible leaders that we have in PCC, and really strong and fastidious. So I will now call Sir Edwin Bustillos, the current CEO of the Philippine Cooperative Center. Sir Edwin.
Thank you, Ray. Of course, our resource speaker today is a very important leader in the cooperative movement globally. He joined and currently the regional director for the Asia Pacific since April of 2014. He has over 25 years experience managing international development operations and overseeing multiple country offices, including experience building new offices from the ground up. He worked in India in cooperative development before moving abroad to work on Asian regional concerns for overseas agencies, and in particular in Afghanistan, Bangladesh, India, Korea, Mongolia, Nepal, Pakistan, the Philippines, and Sri Lanka. He has worked with the Aga Khan Rural Support Program, Action Aid India, International Development Exchange, and the Asia Foundation. He was born in India and educated in India and the United States, receiving a degree in civil engineering from the National Institute of Technology at Durgapur, a postgraduate diploma in rural management from the Institute of Rural Management at Anand, India, and master's in public policy from the Goldman School of Public Policy at UC Berkeley. Most recently, he worked on Asian development projects for the Asian Foundation, headquartered in the United States. Our speaker speaks many languages, Bengali, Hindi, Tamil, and Telugu, as well as English. He is better known to us as Direct Balu. So let us welcome our resource speaker for today that will discuss cooperative identity, Mr. Balusubramanian Balu Ayer. Sir, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Edwin. And if I can just share my screen. Can I be allowed to share my screen?
Yes, sir. Go ahead, sir.
There's an issue here. Do you all have my presentation which I sent you on?
Yes, sir.
If you can just share it, then I think it'll. Okay, great. Again, thank you, Edwin, for that introduction, and good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for inviting the ICA, both the Global and the Asia Pacific office, to be part of your month of celebrations. Congratulations on getting the month of October recognized as Cooperative Month. And from the ICA, we are delighted and thankful to all our members from the Philippines, a very distinguished group doing great work. So thank you all for being members of the ICA, and the numbers are increasing year by year. So thank you for that. I'm also delighted that the Philippines has nominated Chairman Aranyas to the regional board, and also Madam Divina is contesting on the COP party list. So my very best wishes to all of them. I also appreciate the cooperatives in Philippines for over the past, I think, more than 7 to 8 months, focusing on the cooperative identity. And it was mentioned that during the pandemic, the resilience of cooperatives came to the fore. And during your assemblies, many of the assemblies, the identity is also been focused on. So I think it's very important what you all are doing, to be looking at the identity, to be looking at what it stands for and how we reinforce it. So what I'm going to do today is just again go through a few slides which touch upon what we did in the Asia Pacific region is as part of the road to the Congress. It was mentioned earlier also that the ICA is having the 33rd World Congress in Seoul in December, and President Ariel Guarco also mentioned it in his address. So in the road to Congress, what we've done is to have set of consultations with members in the region and to get their viewpoint on how they see the cooperative identity in practice, what are the issues, and what do they see as how we address some of this. So I'll touch upon some of what the findings were and how we move forward from there. So next slide, please. Again, this is just a reminder, and it should be familiar to many of you all. When we talk about the statement of cooperative identity, there are three elements to it. One is the definition. And when we look at the definition, it says that it brings to forth the dual nature of what cooperatives are. One, it's an association. It's an autonomous association of persons coming together voluntarily to meet common needs and the social and economic, social and cultural needs, and aspirations through a jointly owned and democratically controlled enterprise. So we are both an association and an enterprise. So I think that's the dual nature which we need to keep in mind. Second is that it also stresses on the values. Previous speakers have mentioned about the principles and that cooperatives work on principles, but we also need to keep the values. I think, and the values have been enshrined right from the days of the founders, the Rochdale pioneers. When they talked about forming cooperatives, they also looked at the values of self-help, self-responsibility, democracy, equality, equity, solidarity. So that's something which we also need to keep in mind, that the values are also equally important. And of course, these 7 principles, these which have been talked about. And the principles are a living document. So it's not that it's just cast in stone and it's not, it can't be changed. The principles are a living document. And one example is that the last principle, the concern for community, that was added in 1995. And it also goes to show the farsightedness of cooperatives, that we're looking at sustainability, the concern for community, which is being talked about now by many agencies. We enshrined it as part of our principles in 1995. And in 2015, we came out with the guidance note to look at, again, what do these principles mean in the current context? How do we put it into practice? And I'll just read a quote from the guidance notes where it said, the relevance of the guidance note and the practical applications of them is for each cooperative democratically to decide, but the adherence to the spirit of them and their formal application where relevant will benefit every cooperative enterprise and its members. And so as we look to the Congress in 2021 in December in Seoul, where the theme is deepening the cooperative identity, one of the things, there are going to be sessions which look at the principles and values and practice, but also it's an opportunity to revisit the principles and say whether we need to add something more is something which is also will be considered. So I would also encourage you all, when you are looking at the values and principles, to also see whether we need to revisit in light of the pandemic, in light of what's happening across the world in terms of race-related issues, in terms of peace, whether from the Philippines, you all think that there needs to be an addition to the principles. So that's something, again, like I said, it's a living document. We need to revisit it, look at what is working, what needs to be added, how it fits in the current context. Next slide, please. And just briefly, the road to the cooperative identity, it was approved in 1995 at the 31st Congress. And then the statement of is also included in the UN cooperative guidelines, the ILO recommendation 1983, on promotion of cooperatives, which they which they recommend all governments implement, also puts the values and principles right at the center. In 2015, the guidance notes were updated to make it more contextual, how it's relevant, what does it mean, what are the issues. It's a very good document. I hope some of you all have looked into it, and I would urge you all, it's on the ICA website, the 2015 guidance notes. And it was also mentioned that the ICA strategy 2020 to 30 also takes a lot from the blueprint for a cooperative decade, which was developed in 2012, and the pillars, the 5 pillars which Gary mentioned, with identity being at the center. And the Congress will be looking at deepening the cooperative identity when it meets in December. And I did mention about the regional consultations which we had with the ASEAN Cooperative Organization, with members in Iran, with Malaysia, Nepal, Philippines, and also with India. So we've had quite a few consultations. Next slide, please. So what do these regional consultations throw up? And these are some. One, what came about is that there seems to be a sense of mission drift. The smaller cooperatives seem to be dependent more on governments for their resources, for their operations, which violates the values of self-help, self-responsibility. On the other end of the spectrum, again, cooperatives are in a spectrum. You have small to large, and the bigger cooperatives seem to be aping or following more the dominant private market model. Members are looked at more in terms of as borrowers rather than as responsible owners. In a cooperative, members are owners, but then the relationship seems to be much more transactional, saying I have this product, I have this service, and that's what seems to be more dominant than what does it mean to be an owner and what responsibility comes with it. And following that is it's more emphasizes more on selling cooperative products and services. So that's, again, this is across the board. It's not one country, but this is something which is come across from all the consultations that we've had. Second is there is more competition and less cooperation. And Principle 6 talks about cooperation among cooperatives, but members felt that it's more that you need to, this is at 2 levels. One is competition with cooperatives which offer similar products and services. So it's much more in terms of each one competing in against the other. Second is that there is also seem to be a reluctance to become part of these larger networks of federations, where seems to be a misplaced perception about independence and what autonomy is. And we tend to also work in silos rather than cooperation. We are more happy working in our own silos as either credit cooperatives or agriculture cooperatives or consumer cooperatives. But the pandemic has shown that we need to be networked. We need to work together and more in cooperation. The third is more in terms of state control, where the state, the government is more as a regulator rather than enabler. We need government support. Intervention is needed, but not interference, and that's what seems to be happening. And there seems to be many cooperatives which are happy with the benefits which are provided, the SOPs that are provided, and to let government determine how they should be functioning. Next, please. And then there are relationships around governance in terms of meaningful involvement of women and youth. Cooperatives seem to be much more reflect the culture, patriarchy in most countries. That seems to be also reflected in the cooperative hierarchy. And then there are issues around internal governance in terms of more leadership. It seems to be that leaders seem to rotate rather than give opportunity for again, younger generations to come up. So that that was also a concern which was voiced. And again, I'll keep reiterating this. This is what we found in consultations across the region and is not specific to a particular country, though. And some of these can be on top, bottom in many countries, but then they are present to varying degrees. And finally, the perception and awareness about cooperatives. We do talk as cooperatives. One of the things which came out that we seem to be talking more to ourselves rather than outside in order to bring new people into the fold. So the awareness about cooperatives seem to be limited. The perception about cooperatives also seems to be limited. And there is, again, there is not much distinction in the eye of the public when they look at, say, just as an example, a financial provider. For them, they look just at the rate of interest or the products offered, say, between a private company or a cooperative, but then they are not very aware of what is it, what makes cooperatives distinct and what is the difference between the two. So that's something, some of the perception and awareness are also things that we need to be looking at. Next slide. So this is a slide. I'll try to see how much I'm able to clearly capture this. And this talks about the trajectory of cooperatives. And this was by Daniel Coate. And he's drawn 4 quadrants, where on one of the quadrants on the x-axis you have the, or the y-axis you have the intensity of cooperative rules. And on the y-axis, x-axis, you have the intensity of market rules. And there are 4 quadrants to it. So when in quadrant 1, where it's marked quadrant 1, that's where he says the cooperative identity is the strongest. And this is where in initial stage cooperatives, they are formed to meet unmet needs. And accordingly, the competition from the others is very limited. So quadrant 1 is, are you able to see the screen? I seem to have lost my slide.
We're putting it back up again, Director Balu. Apologies for
it says it's starting, but I'm not able to see it. So I don't know whether it's an issue from my end or.
We are just sharing it. Apologies for the technical difficulties. Direct Balu, can you already see the presentation?
I can't, but I will go on. It's fine. As long as you're able to see, that's fine. So quadrant 1 is where the strongest cooperative identity is. And as a cooperative matures, so it goes into quadrant 2. And what Daniel Coate says is they start to lose touch with the needs. It was created to meet competitive pressures increase. So even at quadrant 2, it's not as much as an issue, but again, it tends to, there is high, even though the cooperative identity is low, but then even the market influence is low. So it's okay. So our strongest is quadrant 1, quadrant 2 is fine. But then with further maturing of the cooperative and passage of time, what happens is in quadrant 3, you're finding that there is more and more, the trend is towards following the market rules and less on the cooperative rules. And so cooperatives start to mimic investor-owned competitors, both in terms of their services that they are offered, in terms of staff. They also seem to be looking at it in terms of imitating the private sector. And at this stage, what could happen is it could go at 2 levels. One, the cooperative could drop from B to D, which is at the bottom of the screen, where you demutualize. You're no longer a cooperative, but you are like a private entity. But here again is the opportunity to move from quadrant 3 to quadrant 4. And this is where transformative cooperatives come about, who self-reflect, reinvent, and transform itself into more vibrant, more game changer cooperatives. So I think we need to look at ourselves. And this is one thing when you all are doing your exercise in terms of the cooperative identity and where you are. It will be a good exercise to look at yourself and see at which quadrant are you. And then, and if you feel you're at quadrant 2 or quadrant 3, if you're at quadrant 4, great. But if you're at quadrant 3, I think that's where, or quadrant 2, I think that's where you need to be looking at and saying, okay, why are we here and what is it that we do? In terms of our cooperative identity, where are we? The perfect one is C, yes, quadrant 4 is where high in terms of the values and principles, and also in terms of you are looking at competition, but then you are in a much better position than 1. So I think 4 is where, according to Daniel Coates, is where transformative cooperatives need to position themselves. But 1 is good, 2 is okay, 3 is where we need to start revisiting and relooking at ourselves. Next slide, please. And so at this point, I think for cooperatives at a broad level, there are 2 threats. One is external and the other is internal. The threats, the external threats come from how the ideological paradigm, are we following the dominant one, the market model, trying to ape the private sector, because the competition is so much that in order to survive, we need to be like them. So that's one. Second is more and more emphasis on market and market-based things. So are we also moving in that direction? And then the demographic shifts. Again, the demographic shift is at 2 levels. One is youth, the young people, more and more young people are there, but how much are they aware of cooperatives? How much are they interested? How much are we able to position ourselves? That's one. And at the other end of the spectrum is the aging. Many of our members who are productive members during the productive age were members of cooperatives, but with age, they are no longer working, but are they still part of our membership? Are we still looking at their needs? Their needs go more on the health needs, issues coming up with aging, but how are we looking at them? So I think that's something which is also, and more the society ages, then the less you, they're more, their interest to be part of cooperatives, and because we may not be meeting their needs is something to also look at. But here it gives us the opportunity to look at health cooperatives which are able to provide needs of members. And then of course the other external one is events which are not in many ways in our control. If there is an economic crisis, there is a natural disaster happening, pandemic as we are in current time, wars. These are all external threats, and President Guarco mentioned that during times of crisis, cooperatives have shown themselves to be resilient. But then in this current situation, when you in the Philippines especially, you have the typhoon, you have the pandemic, you have other kinds of crises, it puts a lot of pressure on us. So how resilient are we as more and more crises happen is something to look at, and crises are going to keep happening. So how resilient are we? How do we build that becomes important. And on the internal front, it's again, how do we build a diverse movement? How do we ensure we adhere to our values and principles? And how do we reduce our dependence on the government? So these are 3 things which we need to look at. Next, please. But despite all the challenges, despite what's happening all across, I think cooperatives and cooperative identity matters because one, there is growing inequality, political and social divide. And now in the current context, there is digital divide. It was very easy for some people to go online, but a big challenge for many others. So when there is growing inequality, the market or the private sector is not going to be looking at addressing inequality. So you need a model which looks at addressing inequality. Cooperatives do that. And just as an example, during this current pandemic crisis, the stock markets are booming and the rich are becoming hugely richer, but then the poor are becoming poor. In fact, hundreds of millions of people have gone back into poverty. So markets are not going to be looking at addressing inequality. Climate change and pandemic we've seen. Cooperatives are also, not just cooperatives, we as individuals are seeing the effects of climate change, monsoons which are erratic or sudden or drought, etc., etc. These are real threats. We need to be looking at it in a more global sense. There is social and economic transformation happening where a lot of young people and women are taking lead in looking at addressing these environmental and economic and social challenges. But when young people and women are leading and they are not very aware or reciprocative of cooperatives, that's going to be a challenge. So, but in the cooperative DNA, we talk about economic, social, and environmental. So there is a real need where we can match interest among the young and the cooperative movement. Businesses in different parts of the world are talking our language. They are talking about not shareholder, but they are talking about stakeholder engagement, which is what we talk about members, but now others are also trying to copy us. So it shows that our model is relevant. But then, there are also new business models emerging, which are centered on advocating ethical values and common good. But then the challenge here is they are also talking about, we do talk about the social and solidarity economy, we talk about social enterprises, but when we talk about competition, is it only the private sector or also these new forms, which are also competition to us? Because in many countries, the government seems to be advocating more social enterprises. They're not talking much about cooperatives. So is that, even though social enterprises talk about values and doing common good, but they seem to be getting more traction in comparison to cooperatives. So what are the issues behind that? And how do we address competition, not just from the private sector, but also new forms which are coming up? So when you look at what's happening in the world and what the needs are, then cooperatives, we need to be leaders rather than followers, because it's our distinct cooperative identity which gives us the legitimacy for the common good rather than for capital and profit. And our long history has shown that we are here for the long term and not for the short. Next, please. Again, this is just an example. I earlier talked about companies and others talking about stakeholder and social enterprises, new business model. And even in the US, you have the roundtable of business leaders, which are the top corporate honchos. They are talking about stakeholder analysis. But when you compare stakeholder capitalism and cooperatives, you can see that on all the elements, we are much more, we are on top. These are part of ingrained in us. But then in stakeholder competition, capitalism, open membership is not there. Democratic one member, one vote is not there. They are just starting to talk about economic participation, not just of shareholders, but of workers and employees. They are just started, but we've been talking about this all this while. Autonomy is a question mark. Lifelong learning, yes, it happens to a certain extent. Cooperation, not necessarily in stakeholder or capitalism, they still compete. And concern for the community, they're just talking about. But then when we look at cooperatives, it's ingrained in us. So I think we have a leg up, we have the leadership, but then we need to be see how we can much more promote ourselves, make people aware, and talk more outside rather than within ourselves. Next. So I think it's good to see that PCC as an apex organization and other apex organization in other countries during this, it's a very important role to play when we talk about leveraging our cooperative identity. The COVID-19 highlighted the role of apexes for advocacy. We had to do a lot of advocacy across countries, and apex organizations played an important part. We also need to encourage cooperatives to get into technology in the services sector, gig economy, and I think the education part, the awareness part, both at a regional and at a national level can be done by apexes. So I think apex organizations have an important role to play. We also need to look at how we collaborate with different types of cooperatives. For in the cooperative system, there is a lot of capital, but then the capital seems to be more idle, not used for infrastructure, not used for capital purposes. So how do we look at leveraging the capital within the system? And how do we actively compete with private players and other, even the social solidarity enterprises, social enterprises? So we need to cooperate amongst ourselves in order to be able to compete. If we are just going to compete one-on-one, then the cooperative advantage is going to be lost. And during the pandemic, in many countries, I think even the Philippines, a few weeks back, we had this presentation on the consumer cooperatives. They no longer call themselves as consumer cooperatives, but call themselves, I think, as new cooperative stores, which is putting a very different picture, saying we bring member products to these stores, and these stores are modern and they are there to attract young people, make it more easy. So I think we need to be looking more and more at these types of engagement across our different cooperatives in order to cooperate more rather than compete amongst each other. Yes, we need to compete, but it should be compete with outside rather than within. Next. And then I think we need to be looking at the government as an enabler, not more determining what we should be doing, but then how do we ensure the Cooperative Act is amended to provide us a level playing field? Because in many countries, more and more governments seem to be providing a better field for social enterprises rather than cooperatives. So we need to ensure that we do a level playing field. We also look at promote the government. Also, we encourage them to provide cooperative entrepreneurship. In many countries, social entrepreneurship is being promoted, but then we also need to say that cooperatives are also entrepreneurship. Like I said at the beginning, our definition says we are enterprises, but then it's a group. So how do we, in many countries, again, cooperatives are not looked at as enterprises. They are more looked at as social welfare agencies, but we need to advocate and bring the entrepreneurship part more so that we can attract young people in. And we also need to, not only us as cooperatives, but also the government, we need to actively encourage them to look at data on cooperatives in a much more solid sense in terms of contribution being made to the economy. When they report on the sustainable development goals, that data on cooperatives is collected and incorporated. So I think we need to look at the government as an enabler and how they support us. And finally, I think the awareness, we need to actively look at how do we promote school and university cooperatives, how do we actively look at contribution of cooperatives to the economy. Maybe that's an exercise, again, as Apex organization, PCC can look into it. In India, the National Cooperative Union of India has recently launched a massive exercise to find out how much are cooperatives contributing to the national economy. Malaysia does that. So I think we need to, if we are to get the interest of policymakers, we need to be showing our contribution in different sectors of the economy. And how do we do that? And how do we, I think, also identify ways to integrate youth into the cooperative movement, where we talk to them about meeting solutions, addressing needs, matching with their values and what they're looking for. So I think that's something which we need to be looking at when we're talking about leveraging the cooperative identity. Next, please. I think I talked about the regional consultations, and some of the things which was put forth during the regional consultations were that we should present cooperatives as a modern way of doing business that brings the larger community good. We should focus on the member aspect rather than products and services. That how do we address our member needs? That needs to be given more emphasis. Need for members to go back to volunteerism so as to open up spaces for youth, new technologies as much as possible. Assess cooperatives, the indicators that should be in place are both on the association type and also the enterprise, both aspects of it. And this is very important. Cooperative leaders need to be role models, to be out there and advocating and showing why, both in terms of governance and in terms of messaging, that cooperative leaders have an important role to play. And we need to put out strong examples of cooperatives which are doing good. How do we get these case studies? How do we get these stories out there about how cooperatives are doing good? In many countries, cooperatives are in the news when something negative happens, but not when something positive happens. So I think we need to reinforce the positive aspects of what cooperatives are and the good that's happening. And these are some very valuable suggestions which came out of the regional consultation. Next. I think, again, this should be, again, a few other areas to look at in terms of amendment in the Cooperative Act to make it easier for people to form cooperatives. I keep talking about the social enterprise. To form a social enterprise, you just need a one person. But then to form a cooperative, it's not as easy. You need more than one or two or three. But then how do we make it more easier? How do we advocate with government with policies that encourage development of cooperatives, not just in terms of tax incentives, but also in terms of looking at new areas? And during the pandemic, the services sector, the social sector were badly affected. How do we encourage more cooperatives to be formed in this area? Participation of youth, data on cooperatives, contribution to the economy. How do we promote the cooperative brand? In the earlier, in the introduction, and in Philippines, I see this a lot. You all have the cooperative brand. The mark is very visibly highlighted. T-shirts have co-op mark in it. I think, yes, those are wonderful ways in which we need to promote. Even our products could have the co-op mark. So how do we promote, make it much more visible is something which we need to look at. And how do we do more research to innovate, to integrate, to demonstrate that this model works in different sectors? Next. It was mentioned about the 33rd World Congress. So let me use this opportunity to welcome you all. For the Congress is going to be looking at deepening the cooperative identity. It's going to look at global issues, what impact the global cooperative has on human development, and how do we revisit the model, look at what's working and not working. And the Congress is going to be held in a hybrid manner. You're going to have physical and online. So I'd like to encourage you all to register to be part of the Congress. The Philippines cooperative movement, for me, is very vibrant, has a lot to offer to other countries, to other members. So I'd like to encourage you all to participate. I know many of you all are as part of in the panels which are there in different sessions. That's great, but do participate in numbers and contribute and make known the voice from the Philippines and the Asia Pacific region. I think I should have come to the last of my slides. Right. So again, thank you very much for the opportunity. And I'm delighted that the Philippines cooperatives, you all are taking the identity very seriously, doing internal kind of analysis, looking at what's working and not working. And this is one opportunity in that direction. So from the ICA and from my side, I would be very interested to learn about what you all come out with, how we all are looking at moving ahead. And we'll be more than happy to see how we can continue to engage and strengthen the cooperative identity. So thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Director Balu, for that very, very enlightening report. I hope everybody learned so much from that presentation, and we will have actually a synthesis later on. But for now, let's give a round of applause to Director Balu. And now we'll proceed on the next part.
Yes, thank you, Ray. So while Director Balu was discussing about reframing and appreciating in a deeper sense or level the cooperative identity, what really was impressed upon me was the line that he mentioned, that cooperatives are by nature leaders more than followers. And with that, we will proceed with our first reactor, a real action man in the Philippine cooperative movement, not just in the sector, but a very notable leader in the movement. He is the chairperson of Metro South Cooperative Bank, chairperson of Simbayanan ni Maria Multipurpose Cooperative, chairperson of the board of directors of Solidaritas Credit Cooperative, of One Cooperative Insurance System of the Philippines, and chairman founder of Union of Metro Manila Cooperatives. He also is an awardee of the 2016 Outstanding Filipino Award for NGO and Cooperative, an honor which was given by the Junior Chamber International Senate Philippines to Filipino men and women 41 years of age and above who deserve recognition for their contributions to the society. 2015 awardee of Cooperative Development Authority Gawad Parangal Most Outstanding Cooperative Leader in the national category, and the 2010 awardee of the Order of the Golden Heart Philippine Presidential Award Office of the President, which gives official recognition to Filipino citizens who have rendered distinguished services or given noteworthy monetary or other material aid, encouragement to the campaign for the amelioration and improvement of the moral, social, and economic conditions of the Filipino masses, for volunteerism and in the service of the Filipino mass. So without any further ado, a leader with no need of introduction, BFF of Chair Gary, Reverend Father Anton C.T. Pascual. Morning, Father.
Thank you, Cheska. No, magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat, my dear cooperators in the Philippines and my fellow board in PCC, and of course my partner in the movement, Doc Gary. Good morning. And of course our beloved presenter, the well-respected globally, the Regional Director of ICA, Sir Balo Iyer. Let me go straight to my reaction. Of course, they say when there is a crisis, and now we're having a big crisis worldwide, it is good to go back to the basics. And there is no more basic than going back to the cooperative identity. No, nothing more, nothing less, nothing else. And during this cooperative month, it's good to go back to the cooperative identity, and who is best to present it than our global leaders in ICA. And your presentation was given a copy, was truly objective, breathtaking, and really challenging. No? A challenge for the Philippine cooperative leaders and CEOs, no, in our country. And of course, reading to it, no, I continue to learn, unlearn, and relearn on the importance of the cooperative identity enshrined in our cooperative ideals. I would like to entitle my reaction, Sir Balo, as living the cooperative identity is the cooperative way of doing co-op. Let me repeat. Living the cooperative identity is the co-op way of doing co-op. I have 5 points to raise. Number 1, the cooperatives are ideology-based social enterprises. As you said also, it is a social enterprise, not a business enterprise, using business effectiveness and efficiency with a social purpose in mind, but it has an ideology, which is the cooperative identity. And we would like to call it also the cooperative way of doing co-op. Second point, the cooperative way of doing co-op is applying the nature, the 6 values, and the 7 principles of the cooperative ideals. If it is not applied by the cooperative, my brothers and sisters, if the nature, the values, and the principles are not applied in our cooperative, then it is not an authentic cooperative. It might be an NGO in disguise. It might be a corporation in disguise, and even a quasi-government in disguise, with due respect. As a matter of fact, no, I talked to a transport cooperative last year, and he even told me, the transport cooperative, sabi niya, Father, yung pong aming transport cooperative is quasi-government. Imagine that. Sabi niya sa akin, quasi-government, and he is even a board of director. Patay kang bata ka, Doc Gary. Pakitranslate nga yung patay kang bata ka kay Sir Balu. No? Imagine that. Transport cooperative director, ang sabi niya, yun daw cooperative day, quasi-government. Okay. Third point, my third point. The cooperative way must be embodied first and foremost by the cooperative leadership. And I would like to challenge the board who is listening to me right now. It's leadership by example. Brothers and sisters, nothing more and nothing less. It is not the HR which will embody the culture of the cooperative identity. It is the board of directors, first and foremost. The board must internalize the cooperative way culture to exemplify it to the whole membership. They have to walk the talk before they can talk the walk. Let me repeat. The board must first walk the talk before they can talk the walk. Leadership matters in the cooperative way of doing co-op. Fourth, we need some kind of cooperative measurement tools to evaluate the social impact. Let me repeat, the social impact, how we live out the cooperative way. We need qualitative indicators that we are practicing every day the values and principles of cooperativism. If we cannot measure it, we cannot evaluate so much its impact, essence, and relevance. We have to measure to some extent, although we cannot measure it perfectly. We have to measure to some extent how we live out the cooperative way in our cooperatives. And number 5, the last but not the least, we need to appreciate, again, the union system, which is enshrined in the cooperative code in the Philippines. Sir Balu, in the Philippines, there are 2 kinds of higher level of cooperation. We have the union way and the federation way. We have to resurrect, reinvent the union system in the Philippines. If the co-op sector is perceived as weak and we are not united, reality check. It is because we have failed to understand the importance of the union function. It's the union function that advocates and promotes the values and principles, which is the cooperative way. A cooperative union is the official representative of the cooperative sector in every city, in every province, in every region toward a national apex. It is in the Article 25 of the Philippine Cooperative Code. Brothers and sisters in the movement, if we want to deepen the cooperative identity, cooperative union is indispensable to the cooperative movement. Lastly, a strong cooperative movement is a strong cooperative sector. And a strong cooperative sector is a strong cooperative union. It's the union function that promotes and advocates the cooperative way in the whole cooperative movement. Thank you very much once more, and God bless the cooperative identity, the cooperative way of doing co-op. Last but not the least, allow me to announce also the PCC leadership and UMMC, Union of Metro Manila Cooperatives, are coming out with a 435-page resource book on deepening the cooperative identity applied in the Philippines. It is 2 years in the making. No? Inabot po tayo ng COVID, 2 years in the making. It's a 435-page resource book on deepening the cooperative identity. Lalabas na po ito sa printing. It will be available to the cooperative movement by November 2021 in its launching. No? And we will have a special copy to ICA, to Ariel, and to Balo, signed by no other than our chair, Doc Gary Leonardo. So thank you very much. Salamat po, and God bless the cooperative movement.
Thank you, Father, for those words that truly, again, will be imparted in our learning for this morning. So for the past months, what we've heard during the board meetings were leadership by example. So from one leader to another, for another reaction, may we have our director and chairperson of NATCO Network, si Chair Tony Antonio C. Arañas, who is actually currently sitting as a board member in the ICA AP Regional Board. His career in the Philippine cooperative movement extends for over 3 decades. For more than 20 years, he has served, and even up to now, as director of his primary cooperative, which is Tagum Cooperative. Far in between as a director, he has also chaired his primary cooperative board of directors for 6 years. And it was during his term in the 2000 as chairman of the board of Tagum Cooperative that it received its first brand award titled Finance Organizations Achieving Certified Credit Union Standards, or FOCUS, for brevity. The said award was given by the World Council of Credit Unions, or WOCU, through its offshore credit union training or advocacy outfit, popularly called the Credit Union Empowerment and Strengthening, and its office then situated in Davao City. It all began when, through the teachings of Q's, Tagum Cooperative was effectively transformed to what has now become a world-class savings and credit cooperative in the Philippines, currently ranked as among the top highly successful cooperatives in the NATCO network, with a combined asset of over 9.4 billion pesos, membership of 188,500 individuals, and 23 branches and satellite offices spread out in the island of Mindanao. For this, Director Tony Arañas has earned the moniker as the father of modern Tagum Cooperative by many co-op leaders and members in the local national cooperative organizations. Second brand award given to his primary cooperative came from the Asian Confederation of Credit Unions, and which is called the A1 Competitive Choice for Excellence in Service and Soundness Access. So far, there are only 2 cooperatives in the Philippines that enjoy the Access brand, and one is Tagum Cooperative in Davao del Norte, which is in the southern part of the Philippines, in San Jose Coop in Del Monte, Bulacan in Luzon. He holds the distinction as the only cooperative leader in the country who held the position of board chairperson of Tagum Cooperative, Mindanao Alliance of Self-Help Societies, Southern Philippines Educational Cooperative Center, or MASPEC, based in Cagayan de Oro City, Mindanao, and the National Confederation of Cooperatives, or NATCO, all at the same time. Meanwhile, he also has attended various international cooperative fora, conventions, or studies sponsored by ICA, ACU, and many others. He was a recipient of the National Cooperative Leader Award given by the Philippine Cooperative Center, country's apex cooperative organization, in a cooperative summit forum attended by more than 4,000 co-op leaders from across the country, held on October 2018. As to his academic achievement, he is a holder of master's degree in public administration with field of specialization in organization studies. Other field of endeavors include being past president or chairperson of various socio-civic sports organizations, both in private and government. retired regional director of a national government agency after serving continuous and dedicated 42 years of service in the government. At present, he is incumbent president of COP-NATCO Party List of Davao del Norte and Region 11 chapters, and current director of Philippine Cooperative Center, leader who truly embodies the principles of cooperativism, which will transcend for generations by his example. May we have Sir Antonio C. Araños. Chair, magandang umaga.
Okay, thank you very much, Chiska, for that very generous introduction. But offhand, I would like to make some gentle correction. I am not a CPA by profession, but my suffix shall be MPA, Master of Public Administration. But it's all right. I think that is an oversight. Okay. So, in the presentation made by ICA AP, Asia Pacific Regional Director Balu Ayer, my good friend, I have chosen only 3 to 4 items which I believe need attention or some efforts by the Philippine cooperative sector, because these are issues which are right before our faces and we need to really act on it. So allow me to share in the screen my slides. For a while. Here is my presentation. I would like to, before I will proceed, I would like to greet present good day to our guests, especially to our Regional Director of ICA Asia Pacific, my friend, Regional Director Balu Ayer, the Philippine cooperative leaders headed by the chair of PCC, also my good friend, Chair Gary Leonardo, the entire official dam of PCC, and all the cooperative leaders who are present this morning. I will not mention your name one by one because it will eat up my time. I have only 10 minutes to present. So again, good morning, and please proceed. So reactions to the presentation, that is Cooperative Identity in Philippine City. Next. I chose one of the items in mission drift. The present board of co members act themselves as borrowers instead of being responsible owners. Case in point, co-op members who have undergone the old school ways of getting their PMS requirement for straight 5 or 7 days maintain their loyalty and patronage of their loan co-product and services consistently or undeviating. Unlike co-op members nowadays who obtain their membership to the co-op through a 30-minute or 1-hour orientation, would easily grab any available opportunity for loans availment or credit facility from any government or private financial institutions who offered lesser rates of interest to the detriment of their standing loan accounts from their respective cooperatives. So there's a catch here because I am talking through my personal experience. My contemporaries, because I am a product of the old school ways of acquiring PMS, compared to the present members that we have, who have just undergone a 30-minute or 1 orientation, we can really see the difference in terms of loyalty of these members to our co-op. So the direct answer is that members who have undergone the almost 3 decades ago way of conducting PMS were able really to absorb and ingrain in themselves the values of cooperatives, the principles, the practices that the co-op should have. Okay, next. Another is bigger cooperatives are becoming more of corporatives. That's the term now, corporatives. Obliterating the true essence of service and social responsibility. Entertaining the concept or idea that cooperatives should earn big money in order to provide more, better, and sustainable programs and services to the members and people in the community. It's like a chicken and egg thing. Bigger cooperatives or federations acting as cooperatives are observed that as part of their governance structure, the principle of democratic member control, that is one member, one vote, is somehow negated, either wittingly or unwittingly. Example, primary cooperatives with bigger share capital or investments are allowed or given the rights to vote more than one. Okay, so that's the situation that we have to, I think we have to rethink our policy on this. Next. In the governance, involvement of women and youth have been properly integrated into the Philippine cooperative movement for almost 2 decades already. However, much have still to be desired in order to strengthen better and fully mainstream the women and sector in all levels of the cooperative organizations. Leadership by rotation, as one of the items emphasized in presented paper by Director Ayir, may be seen as fair and giving equal opportunity for those wanting to become leaders of cooperatives. However, there is a danger in here because we might elect or choose co-leaders who are not ready, lack the competence, the skills and gravitas to take the helm of their cooperatives. As what has been emphasized by my colleague in the board, Father Anton, co-op leaders should be the role model, should be a role model. And this should lead by example. Otherwise, the co-op is doomed. Okay, so you cannot expect members really to follow you if they see the leaders not really doing their job well or the task as expected of them. Next. Leveraging the cooperative identity. Apex cooperative organizations like PCC should be given an important or crucial role in shepherding cooperative enterprises in light of pandemic, COVID-19, and in the areas of technology, gig economy, and services sector. And for this role, therefore, we strongly recommend or endorse to appropriate state bodies to recognize as such. Integrate the subject of cooperatives in all levels of education, that is from primary, secondary, and tertiary, so that after completing the studies, concerned individuals will become true-blooded cooperative advocates. This requires an amendment to the Philippine Cooperative Code of 2008 as amended by Public Act number 11364. This is patterned after the Desjardins Cooperative Federation in Quebec, where I happened to visit in the year 2000, wherein in one of our discussions, when we asked the officers of Desjardins if they are conducting pre-membership seminars, when they heard that kind of question, they laughed at us, asking us, what do you mean by PMS? We explained this. And they answered that, no, we don't have any PMS here because the subject cooperatives are integrated in the school curricula from elementary to college. That is why once you graduated in Quebec, after you graduate your course, you become really a dyed-in-the-wool cooperative advocates. Unlike here in our country, we have really to exert more effort to educate and, to provide full awareness to our people about cooperativism. Next. In the consultations for the 33rd World Congress, I think it was mentioned in the paper. And I would like to mention this because as it is now in the Philippines, there is an emerging trend of the state to grip its control over cooperatives by attempting to standardize the rates of loan interests imposed on members, rather than adapting the industries or the sector's practice of prevailing market rates. Creating a horizontal cooperative organization purportedly serving as consultative body. This trend is certainly a flagrant violation or a clear contravention to the Universal Cooperative Principle number 4, which is autonomy and independence. We heard Director Baluayer saying that there should be no interference because of this principle. So if we would say that if this concern is not corrected or adjusted, this will result to the stifling or emasculating the ability of cooperatives to be creative, innovative, and flexible in running their business operations. Next. This is in full support to the call of the ICA Asia Pacific for the state to be more of enablers rather than as regulators. So that ends my presentation. Thank you, and again, good day.
Thank you very much, Direct Tony, for giving us more in-depth, like a Philippine situationer of like a continuation of Director Balu's presentation. Well, one part that I would also like to give focus is the representation of youth and women in the cooperative sector. As such, it is quite good to hear that we have, while still under development, we are starting to have a good representation of women and youth in the cooperative sector. And our next reactor is, in fact, part of those sectors. So, Ma'am Bernadette O. Toledo is the current Chief Executive Officer of MASPEC Cooperative Development Center, one of the oldest and largest regional federation in the country. She has more than 20 years of extensive work experience in cooperative development, both at the regional and national level. Hence, she is considered as one of the driving force behind the success of MASPEC. She also serves key positions in various cooperatives, NGOs, and governmental bodies. Among her many titles are National Audit Member of the Board of Directors of both Cajos of Development NGO Networks, Code NGO, and Mindanao Coalition of Development NGO Networks, MINCO, and Committee Officer to the Philippine Cooperative Center and Federation of Philippine Sustainable Development Cooperative, FESDC. Let's us welcome CEO Bernadette Olandria Toledo. Ma'am?
Thank you very much, Ray, for that kind introduction. First of all, I am very honored to be with the pillars of the cooperative movement in the Philippines, Father Anton and Sir Tony, and of course for the rest of the cooperators present in this virtual room. So first, allow me to share MASPEC experience in redirecting the focus on the membership aspect of the cooperative as a way forward in addressing the mission drift and preserving the cooperative identity. In 2016, MASPEC celebrated our 50th anniversary, and we went through a process of internal reflection and analysis involving our members in all levels. The significant realization that emerged were: one, cooperatives were growing individually rather than as a system. So as an effect, competition was a norm rather than cooperation. Second, MASPEC efforts were focused on growing the cooperative as an enterprise. As a result, individual members were left behind. This realization pointed to the fact that MASPEC and its members had drifted from its core purpose of uplifting the lives of the cooperative members, especially the poor among them. Thus, we decided that there are two things we need to do to stay true to our purpose. First, we need to keep in mind that individual members of cooperatives are the key measure of success and should now be the focus of cooperative promotion and development. Therefore, our constant focus is on uplifting the lives of the cooperative members. Second, given the significant internal and external challenges of cooperatives in the country, it is time for the cooperative to think, act, and move forward as a movement. Cooperatives and the Federation should be working together to achieve this. With this realization, the 2017-2021 MASPEC strategic plan focuses on putting members at the center of development. This aspiration is clearly articulated in the new movement vision passed during the 2018 General Assembly that every cooperative should adopt, and that is all members enjoy better quality of life. This vision affirms that all cooperatives should ensure that their members enjoy better quality of life. No one should be left out. Growth achieved by the cooperative should be inclusive. This is a vision that every cooperative has still to realize, but it is a vision worth striving for and fighting for if cooperatives are to remain relevant, not only to members, but to society as well. To date, we have about 215 cooperatives out of 324 member cooperatives who have adopted this vision. Moreover, to make the vision quantifiable and doable, the indicators to measure the achievement of the movement vision was defined by the members themselves. The Federation developed an automated tool, a monitoring tool to produce the needed data. This data will be used to monitor the improvement of members' well-being, as well as the contribution of cooperatives in poverty alleviation and contribution to the local economy. These initiatives are possible because of the improved governance system of MASPEC, one that is member-driven and draws its strength from the base, the cooperative members. So aside from the regular structure, we added three more. The first one is we call it member cluster. This is a gathering of members in a particular city or province. And then we have another layer, the regional steering committee. This is a gathering of officers in the region and the platform of our regional board to know firsthand what is happening in the region. And also we have the ownership meeting. This is a gathering of all members in the region. This member-driven governance system facilitates and processes all our initiatives to be implementable at all levels. As an effect, all the services of MASPEC are shared and aligned with the expressed needs of the members. The members are assured that services are affordable and available regardless of size. This gradually eliminates competition and enhances cooperation among cooperatives. So in last June 24, 2021, MASPEC held the Co-op Leaders Dialogue on the cooperative identity. We are fortunate to have with us during that dialogue, Dr. Martin Lowery, ICA board member and chair of the Cooperative Identity Committee. And of course, Balo are here to share their insights on why cooperative difference is important to the success of cooperatives around the world, particularly in the Philippines, and to focus on the challenge of remaining true to our cooperative identity while navigating the realities of competition. The dialogue covers 7 thematic areas on deepening the cooperative identity, differentiating cooperatives from other businesses, increasing co-op's competitiveness, cooperation among cooperatives, technology and innovation, environmental and social responsibility, and new initiatives like agriculture, health, and others. The results of the dialogue are summarized as a basis for further discussion by cooperative leaders on this very important subject. By continuing this conversation on the ground, like the clusters, the REC, and our ownership meeting, we hope to identify action points that cooperatives can act on it in order to strengthen our cooperative identity. So as MASPEC take this path, we strongly believe that we can never go wrong because we bank on our members who are the reason of why we exist as a federation. So thank you very much for listening. Magandang umaga po sa lahat.
Thank you very much, Ma'am Bernadette Toledo, for that reaction po. And now we already have finished all our reactors. Thus, we are well. Again, thank you for everyone who shared their reaction and comments on the presentation of Director Balu. That would be really useful for our synthesis later on. But before we proceed to that, it is also important that aside from our leaders, we will hear from our members and other fellow cooperators, not just a few people, but the more participants, the better. So we are now opening our open forum. So you may now use the raise hand button for Zoom, or you may also message in our chat, Zoom chat, your questions, queries, or possibly if you have any other reactions to be directed to our presenters. Yes, so now we are now opening the floor for the questions and queries. Okay, sir, there are already some people who already posted their questions or actually asked permission to ask questions a while ago. We would like to call Sir Noel. We saw you in the chat. You asked if you can ask question a while ago. You may now ask your question now.
Thank you, Ray.
Yes, sir.
Good morning, Balo, and the rest of the officers of PCC, and of course the number 1 or 2 or 3 nominee of NATCO party list. Good morning. I'm just asking if you can ask questions, but since you asked me, I will ask these questions to the reactors or the presenter. Sir Balo, on his slide said about the original consultations on the road to 33rd World Congress related to bigger cooperatives more as corporate and aping dominant market model. And I think he emphasized also one of the mission drift there related to on one co-op, one vote. So the cooperative principle and values. What can you say, Mr. Balo, or the rest of the reactor, when you talk about co-ops are shifting share voting?
Hello, Noel. Nice to see you. And thank you for the question. I had mentioned about quotes, and he's also come out with a book which I would also encourage you all to see if you can get a copy. And there what he talks about is that as cooperatives grow, there's a phenomenon called isomorphism, where you tend to become more and more like your competition, or in this case, the corporations, be it in terms of staff. The staff who come on board are also have the same type of degrees, have same type of move in the same group. So what he says is that, and this isomorphism is across the board. It's not just in one aspect of it. So our distinct kind of identity tends to get lost. And so it's important if we are talking about cooperatives. And he's not, again, there is nothing wrong in growing. There is nothing wrong in being a big cooperative. Kudos to cooperatives which have reached that size and scale. And that also becomes one of the concerns when you look at in many countries. What's happening is they say it's when it comes to banks, it's too big to fail is not applied, does not apply to the big banks. But when it comes to cooperatives, they say cooperatives can't be too big. And I question that, why can't cooperatives be big? There is all the reason, the bigger we are, the better. But it's also the question is, while growing big, how much are we looking at the cooperative identities and the principles and saying how much are we adhering or how much are we moving away? I think it's to reflect on it and then see how we move forward, rather than say, okay, just for the sake of competition, we should also look very similar to the others.
Thank you, sir.
May I add something on that, Director Ayer?
Sure.
Yeah, I think that is really an issue here in the Philippines because, as I've said, regional federations or in cooperative in that level tend to allow co-op affiliates under their jurisdiction to vote more than one, which is contrary to the principle of one member, one vote. And that is the reason why small cooperatives are complaining. They're saying that they now heard that they will be able to really gain position in the officership level because of their small share capital investments given to any federation, because of the so-called policy that the number of votes depends on the amount of share capital investments given to affiliates to a certain federation. And I think that really contradicts to the basic principle of one member, one vote, because as it is, when you say one member, one vote, irrespective of the share capital and investment that the member has with the said federation. And I know that because when that happens, I think that happens early 2000. I was in the movement. I know that there was a heated debate during assembly on that. And, as I've said, in the early 2000, big federations were acting like a cooperatives, combination corporation and cooperative. And that's the issue that until now prevails. Thank you.
If I can add here, the ICA again on the road. Can I just make one quick observation?
Yes, please proceed, Director Balu.
Okay. The ICA in the Road to Cooperative Congress, it's come out with a base paper looking at all the cooperative principles and identities. And there are a couple of things which I think is happening in the Philippines and across the world. Are two things. One is in terms of who are the type of memberships. There is more and more the multi-stakeholder concept where different types of cooperatives and different individuals are coming together to form cooperatives. So in such a situation, then what should be the kind of voting, what should be the should it be in what ratio, proportionate, is a discussion which I think is happening. And the other is in relation to raising capital. Many cooperatives are also trying to look for capital outside, for they find that internally it's not there. So again, when you're getting outside capital, then what is the kind of shareholding and voting pattern is an ongoing discussion, I think, across countries. And just let me read from this base note for the Congress, where it says, the second principle specifies that democratic control by members must be implemented based not on the amount of capital held, but through one person, one vote procedures in primary cooperatives. Higher level cooperatives can have different democratic arrangements reflecting, for instance, the ratio among the grassroots members. And the third is that in multi-stakeholder cooperatives, namely cooperatives with more than one membership group, which have emerged over the last few decades, are characterized by specific arrangements in their bylaws, providing for suitable representation of the various stakeholders, giving different weighting systems in each stakeholder category. So I think this is an ongoing kind of thing in terms of voting rights, depending on what type of cooperatives are being formed, and in terms of capital, what needs to be also looked at. So I think we need to look at these elements and see how this issue of voting rights, shareholding, capital, etc., how while we are moving in that direction, that how much is it resonating or how much is it in adherence with the values and principles that we are talking about.
Yes, John, can I say something? Yes, Balu, no? Of course, this is the ongoing concern in the Philippine cooperatives, no? The one man, one vote. The one man, one vote applied to the higher level of cooperation, or one member, one vote applied to the higher level of cooperation. I believe in the level of the primary, we can appreciate one member, one vote. But in the Philippines, when we go higher, which we call the unions and federations, there is an ongoing other variations, no? As far as union, up to 5 votes, no? If you have more members, if you have more shares, also with the federations, if we have more shares, we have more in terms of voting power. But what equalizes us, no? It's an ongoing debate, as you said, no? What equalizes everybody is even though a member has a better opportunity to win because of more shares, that cooperative, that member will only have 1 seat in the board of directors. 1 seat in the board of directors. And another variation also is we can have independent directors. No? Like 1/3 of all the seats are reserved for small members, in order to have that semblance of inclusivity. I have a different opinion when you go to the federations, because federations, we need more successful cooperatives and leaders to handle the federations, because we talk about businesses, expansion, no, and market penetration. And with due respect, the small cooperatives, like a micro cooperative, no, will still have to learn so much, no, being a leader of a federation, no, because all of us came from a micro before we became billionaires. Pero when you become a billionaire or multi-billionaire, like Tagum, no, the experience is different, no, and the vision becomes different, no, compared with a micro cooperative leader, comparing it with a billionaire cooperative leader. That's my point, no? The ongoing discussion, because when you talk about the higher level of cooperation, it's a different paradigm when you talk about federations. Thank you.
Okay.
So before we follow up on that, there's another question in the chat group, and it relates to identity, so it might be good to plug it now. So from Sir Gertrudes Eliap of Tagum Co-op, his question is this the appropriate co-op identity? Co-op as a social enterprise operating profitably, or a profitable enterprise doing social responsibilities?
Okay, so that question is open to Sir Balo and the reactors, and also probably Sir Noel is also inside the room. So a while ago, before any answers, we need to discuss further, not in this forum, the concept of the one cooperative, one vote based on the cooperative principles, particularly emphasizing in higher strata of cooperatives. So thank you for that point blank question, Sir Noel, and the contributions of Father Anton, Director Balu, and Father Anton. So we go to 1 minute before we go to the second question, sir. Okay, please proceed, Sir Noel.
It's okay on the number of votes when there is not a majority, but we need to vote sufficient number of votes. It's not anymore cooperative votes, but share votes. Even though the set of officers that you will tell is per co-op, it's a different cooperative that will sit there in the board of directorship. But if votes, critical decision making in the General Assembly, if we will let votes to decide, it's not anymore a cooperative, it's now a corporation. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll reserve that manifestation and observation by Sir Noel for further discussions. But again, that's a very important point as raised by Director Balu and I think Father Anton, given a different variations on the proportionality of the votes, particularly on higher levels or strata of cooperatives. Okay, so we proceed now on the question, Ray.
Yes, I'll just repeat it again for everyone to catch it. Sir Gertrudes Yap asked the question, is this the appropriate co-op identity? Co-op as a social enterprise operating profitably, or a profitable enterprise doing social responsibilities? Again, anyone can answer.
Can I answer? No?
Yes.
John, no, when you say that you're a social enterprise, no, differentiated from a business enterprise, which is more profit-oriented, by the very name social enterprise, it means you are doing business with a social mission. No? Kaya you created that enterprise for a social objective. And that is the purpose of that. And the income is distributed to the projects, not that distributed to the members. Yan ang social enterprise, no? By its very nature. Thank you.
Let me, if I can add something here. When you look at, when they say the history of cooperatives, cooperatives were considered as the first social enterprise. But what's happening these days is, I'll just take the example of Malaysia, and I'm sure this is happening across in other countries too. So they're actively promoting social enterprises, but they are distinguishing between cooperatives. Cooperatives are not considered when they look at the social enterprise. They don't take cooperatives as part of that. So while we are saying, yes, we are active, we are social enterprises, but then the government, when it looks at, for them, social enterprises are different, cooperatives are different. So I think that's again a role which, and so there is, even in countries like Malaysia and Singapore, the government is actively promoting social enterprises because young people are attracted to both the enterprise and the social aspect of it. There is funding available from the government, from the foundations. It's much easier to form a social enterprise. But the same is not even though we are saying cooperatives are social enterprise, but when they view, they don't look at it in that sense. So I think that's the role which, as cooperatives and as apex organizations, and think we need to play a role in terms of this cooperatives being social enterprises and the enabling environment also being created for us. I think we need to actively be putting ourselves out there. Otherwise, there is more and more emphasis and more support going to be given to social enterprise, the way the government looks at it rather than cooperatives.
Thank you for that comment, Sir Director Balu. Any other point of view regarding the discussion on, is a co-op a social enterprise operating profitability, or is a profitable enterprise doing social responsibilities? Okay, so
See you, Edwin.
yes,
May I?
yes, Director, Chair Tony, please proceed.
Yeah. I don't know. I hope Director Ayer could help me. I attended the 1995 ICA Congress in Singapore, I think. That was held in Singapore, and that was the Congress wherein the identity of co-ops were properly discussed. And it was at the time where the so-called debate on what should cooperatives should do, whether it is a business enterprise or a social enterprise. And I think at the time, the arguments were on the side really of saying that cooperatives should be a social enterprise, although doing business. In fact, the emphasis there was that cooperatives are being differentiated by way of providing service with personal touch. I think that's the term used, personal touch. But you know, as years go on, that particular paradigm was slowly changed, because nowadays there is an argument by the cooperative leaders that, you know, you cannot expect the co-ops to really sustain or continue providing service if we don't have enough money, and therefore we should really be in business so that we can provide social services. That is the argument now. So as earlier presented, I was telling in my reaction that there is this chicken and egg thing. Which comes first, the egg or the chicken? But I believe for practicality purposes, I truly agree that the cooperatives now should really, you know, when operating, there should be, of course, profit or nature process so that they can provide better and more service and programs to the members and the community as well. But, you know, to be honest, especially when you become big, there is a tendency that the social responsibility are being left to parang, you know, left to a certain point of oblivion because of the desire to really have big money, to the point that there are programs that will really, the policymakers would say, okay, we will just prepare a cost for that because it's enough that we can have these services. But you know, the other side of the discourse is that no, we should really have this kind of cost of services because we have some more projects in the future. So the debate continues until now. So that's my point. You know, co-leaders attending this forum. Thank you very much.
If I can just add, my point is not how cooperatives, whether we are social or enterprise. My concern is from the government side. When they actively promote social enterprises, they are not looking at cooperatives in that same lens. They'll view cooperatives as separate and social enterprises as separate. And they give much more support, and I see that more and more support being given to social enterprises rather than cooperative. So I think there is a role for us to be advocating and talking with these agencies which are promoting to say that, look, cooperatives are also social enterprises. Don't look at and encourage us also rather than just say social enterprises and cooperatives are different.
Thank you for that additional explanation, Director
Edwin?
Balu. Yes, sir. Before I call Sir Roy Miklat, the CEO of 1CISP, Ma'am Shielo is raising her hand ahead of CEO Roy, and then we'll follow up. Ma'am Lucy will be after Sir CEO Roy. Okay, so Ma'am Shielo, please proceed relative to this discussion, and then Sir CEO Roy, and then Ma'am Lucy. Thank you.
Thank you, Edwin. Good morning, everyone. Happy Cooperative Month. Good morning, Balu, and all the leaders in this morning. I think my concern is also related into co-op identity. In one of the slides presented by Balu, and I hope all the Balu and all the reactors may answer this clarification from me. In one of your slides, Balu, you have presented issues to consider, and in there you have. Obviously, co-op is better off than the usual business. But I think it's really related to identity. Why is it that it seems that the cooperative in this 21st century is still not the preferred, no? Not the preferred, and especially among the youth or the young generation. And we're not considered as an important worldwide, as an important contributor to the success or into nation building. Why is that? I think it's really related to our identity being perceived by the people or by the community. Thank you, Edwin.
Yeah, that's the challenge. You know, we say that we have a long history. The ICA is celebrating 125 years. We have 1 billion members. Worldwide, which is 12% of the population, are members of cooperatives. We are present in almost all countries in the world. And in terms of even economic clout, the top 300 cooperatives together have a turnover of $2.1 trillion US, which makes them the 6th largest economy. But we still even today talking about limited awareness, people not knowing about cooperatives. So I think it's a incumbent on us. And one of the questions which I think was answered, which has been asked here, is on cooperative education. If you want to attract youth, where do they learn about cooperatives, or where do they hear about cooperatives? What avenues are there? What platforms are there? So I think one is trying to look at maybe in the education system, schools, curriculum, trying to talk more about cooperatives. That's one. Second is, for even when you look at Principle 5, it just talks about education, training, and information to the public. So how do we let the public know? For example, in India, or this could be in many other countries, right from the time a person gets up, you have your morning cup of coffee. The milk comes from cooperatives. The sugar comes from cooperatives. The tea or coffee comes from cooperatives, but people are totally unaware about it. So I think there's emphasis on how do we, like I mentioned also in my presentation, how do we talk about our successes? How do we talk about cooperatives being solutions which can address needs? And what we also need to realize when there are millennials, when millennials are asked about how do they look at the future and where is it that they would like to be working, they want to work in a place which has values and looks at concerns of the community. They want to work in a place which gives ownership to people who are working there. They want to work in a place which cares about the environment. So when you look at all their interests, they all match very much with what cooperatives are. So I think more education, more information out there. And even business schools, when we talk about cooperatives, we are talking about social enterprise, business enterprise, but even business schools don't talk much about cooperatives. So how do we get business schools to talk about it? And how do we have more, there was mention about the Aflatun program. I think for me, that's another great program where you're getting young people involved in savings, building them from a very young age, talking about importance of finances, getting them to save, but at the same time talking about working together, cooperatives. So how do we make it more, not again, it's not just teaching, but how do we get hands-on practice? I think is going to make a big difference, and more examples about how young people are stories, letting people know about it is going to make a big difference.
Thank you, Director Balu, with respect to the concern raised by CEO Shello. Later on, we will have further discussion on that. But in the meanwhile, Sir Roy, the CEO of CISP, is next in line. Please proceed, sir.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Balu, and all the co-op leaders that are here. For me, there is no need to talk about cooperatives as social enterprise. We call ourselves cooperative enterprises rather than social enterprises. In Europe, they don't call themselves cooperative enterprise. They call them cooperatives, like Mondragon, like Unipol. They're cooperative enterprises. They're not social enterprises because that's our identity. We are cooperative. We are not. This social enterprise, it was coined by NGO practitioners that are helping the marginalized. But cooperatives have an history that they're cooperative enterprises owned by their members and their services are used by their members. That's our cooperative identity. That's how we do things. That's our values. It's ingrained in the cooperative. So what we need to do now is to promote it. How cooperative enterprises do their business. I don't think the mission drift is happen because we do away with values of cooperatives. We tend to compete with the private enterprise. That's why with One CISP, we are promoting that cooperatives are the third path. The first path is the public. Second path is the private enterprises. The third path is the cooperative enterprises or the cooperatives. It can be part of the economy of any country. It should be recognized as one of the main pillars of our economy. That's how you do it. Cooperative enterprises, not social enterprises. We should stop calling ourselves social enterprises. We should stop call ourselves cooperative enterprises that has values, that has principles in doing business. The internal practices that comes within will follow the principles that we have. We may debate on the one member, one vote. We may debate on the share voting. But at the end of the day, values should prevail. Principles should prevail. And the benefits should accrue to the members. That's how cooperatives operates. So for me, I don't talk about social cooperative as a social enterprise. I talk about we are a cooperative enterprise, and we are the third path in the economy of countries, not only in the Philippines but in other countries. That's why we measure also our contribution in the GDP, because we want to be recognized as contributor in the economy. We distinguish ourselves to private enterprises. We call ourselves cooperatives. So I think personally, we should stop calling ourselves social enterprises. We call ourselves cooperative enterprises that have shared values, that follow certain principles, and do business to serve our members and the community where we operate. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO Roy. So from what he emphasized, there are 3 schools of thoughts already, but he stressed that cooperative is cooperative enterprise, different from social enterprise and business enterprise. And he is forwarding a direct intervention where the cooperative is the third pole in the Philippine economy. We have the business, We have the government, but we have the cooperative as the third pole in our economy. So I think this is a very good points raised. And hopefully, Chair Gary, we should be continuing discussing the Philippines gross domestic product where cooperatives can be cited as what we had started in 2020, if I'm not mistaken. Thank you, Sir CEO Roy. On that note, we will proceed with the discussion. So next in line is Ma'am Lucy, the ad hoc chairperson of the United Cooperative Movement of the Philippines. Ma'am Lucy, Chair Lucy, please proceed.
Yes, thank you, Sir Edwin. A pleasant good morning to everyone, especially to our ICA representative, Balu. I totally agree with Sir Roy. Actually, that is exactly what I would like to emphasize, but I have 2 points. No, the first point is I would like to share an analogy on the difference or the uniqueness of our cooperative identity that will make us an authentic cooperators. So I would like to say that the cooperative difference is likened to a coin. The other side of the coin is what we call association of people. And then the other side of the coin is an enterprise. So the association of people as a social identity, they are our member owners, while the enterprise side is we are the economic contributors, we are the users. That makes us different, but at the heart of that coin is the member of the cooperative. So they decide, they control. That makes us an authentic cooperator or cooperative member. However, what is lacking in our system is the nourishment, the building of the foundation of this kind of cooperative identity. I think this is where our legislators should be able to provide that kind of support. No, because in the Philippines, the principle of subsidiarity and taking care of the unions and the federation system is lacking in our legislation. Therefore, the unions should be able to be provided that kind of support from the legislators as well as the federation, so that they will be the one to nourish our cooperatives. And I would like to commend what MassSpec is doing, that they're saying that true success, the measurement of true success of cooperative is really the members. So while the social capital is still small when we are beginning, the honesty and the social or the cooperative identity is very high. Our financial capital is still small. But as we go along and nourishing the social capital, that also increases our financial capital. While we increase our financial capital, our social capital should also increase hand in hand. It should not be left lower than the social capital or the financial capital. This is what we as national leaders in the cooperative movement should be looking forward. And I think what the legislator should do is, and perhaps PCC or ICA could support this, that as legislators, you will provide an avenue where you could provide the developmental function, not on the individual primary cooperatives, but on the organizations like unions and federations. If you would like to provide capacity development programs for micro and small cooperatives, give it to the union system, capacitate them so that they will be the ones to nourish our primary cooperatives with cooperative identity. Not directly the government agency doing that kind of work. Because if you do that kind of work, it would be ano yung tinatawag po nating economy of scale is not practiced. So perhaps we can put this also in our roadmap that we have to support our unions, capacitate them, and the federation system, let them nourish the cooperative identity, and we will really grow. And put this into writing, the cooperative way of life, we can achieve it. Thank you.
Thank you for that contribution on the two sides of the coin, Ma'am Lucy, Chair Lucy, with emphasis on members and membership. And what do you call this? The other side is the enterprise and the role of the legislative arena and the government agencies in creating an enabling environment to further nourish the cooperatives and the role of the federations, unions, and primary cooperatives in the developmental function, and not that of the state. Okay, so thank you, Ma'am Lucy, in that manifestation. Now we proceed with Sir Roger Decal. Of course, we will be collecting the remaining comments and probably recommendations. So we have two more, Sir Roger Decal and the President of COP-NATCO Party List, Sir Alex. And then last comments, probably from Director Balu Ayer. So Sir Roger, please proceed and to be followed by Sir Alex.
Okay, good morning to Director Balu Ayer. Good morning to the cooperative leaders and also to the co-op party list nominees. No? I have previously posted this in our chat box, but I just decided to raise my hand so that I could amplify on my question. As far as the co-op identity is concerned, how do we now include in our educational system the concept of cooperative? Because I remember when I was studying high school, we have the subjects of history and economics. There was no mention whatsoever of cooperatives. When I was in college, we studied the Spanish subjects up to the 4th year, until such time that it was reduced to up to 2 years only. I studied accounting, but there was no mention even of cooperative accounting. There was mention of single proprietorship, partnership, corporation, nothing about cooperatives. I learned cooperatives later in life, but during my formative years, in high school and in college, this has never been introduced, even as a portion in our subject. It's good now because we have what you call Bachelor of Science in Cooperatives, no? But then in other areas, example, Bachelor of Science in Education, do they have a subject? Even if it's a little one to be incorporated in the other subjects. On cooperatives, even in business administration, I do not know if they are curriculum. Now, my question is, this will be for the party list nominees, will this be advocated by a legislation? Or do we have to lobby with the DepEd or the CHED, something like that? This would be addressed to the party nominees and to the COP leaders. Alex is smiling, being the president of NATCO party list. But anyone can answer that question. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sir Roger. But before Sir Alex will answer on that, I think Director Balu has one slides of presentation relative to representation of the cooperative. So, Director Balu, would you like to spare a minute to reply on Sir Roger Decal's concern before Sir Alex will proceed?
Sure. I think I agree. We need to have some form of education for cooperatives in schools and colleges. But more important for me, rather than just have it as a subject, for cooperative is a practice. People and students need to get hands on. Cooperative is not just learning the values and principles, but how we work together. So how do we, I think, put that into practice, so make it more practical? And that's why I mentioned about the Aflatun in the chat. For that brings people, it teaches, but also puts on hands-on practice where young people start something, do something. And same thing when you go to Malaysia, they have school cooperatives. They talk about cooperatives in school, but the emphasis is on the practice. How do they do hands-on? Start something, maybe it's a store, maybe it's a small business as a group. So I would think some of our larger cooperatives and need to be have incubation centers or some area laboratory cooperatives. I think are good. That's which is happening in the Philippines. How do we encourage more of that as labs? I like the word laboratory where you need to practice. You're not just being taught, but it's a lab where you put your ideas into play and you do something. So I think if we can do that, put it into practice, teach more hands-on, then I think it will be gain more traction rather than just have it being taught in the school as a subject, which is needed. But for me, the emphasis as cooperative should be on the practice.
Sir Balu for that reply. And now, Sir Roger for the last intervention coming from the President and currently the Chairperson of the SOCMECO and one of the board members of the Cooperative Bank as well. Sir Alex Sakepo, please proceed, sir. And then we will do the synthesis because it's almost lunch.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you, Edwin. Thank you very much, and good morning to everyone. Good morning to Sir Balu. Let me go straight to my comment and then possibly pose a challenge at the end. Cooperatives, just like in any other world, we do not live in a vacuum. We need to collaborate and partner. The problem is we do not have any issue on what we do, who we are, and what we serve. The problem is outside cooperatives, which is a bigger society. The acceptance level, especially here in the Philippines, is not yet that high, because seemingly cooperatives are just defined as a sari-sari store along the corner. I hate to say that, but that is a quotation coming from one of our legislators, which is so unfortunate. In other words, we cannot do it all. The biggest partner that we should further nurture and develop is still government. It's still government. Without government, there's a little bit difficulty in us operating. They should complement us, and in return, we should complement them, and in return, they should recognize us. Again, let me emphasize the word recognize us. At this time in our co-op life, with so many speeches of our president, SONA, made by our previous president and our present president, there has never been a mention about cooperatives, our role, our contributions, and the things that we have undertaken to respond to this pandemic. Never, ever. And again, that is a very unfortunate situation. That should have been an inspiration for all of us, but it did not happen. Now, how can government help us? Of course, regulation is one, and everybody accepts regulation as part of our lives. Standardization and supervision. The single biggest question right now is, should even developmental function be their function? Or should it be given to us, to our federations, to our unions, to our apex organization? The second big society or group that we should collaborate and partner is the private and business sector, where we either learn the ropes of managing enterprises. Again, let me repeat, we do not live in a vacuum. We need to partner with them, and we need to collaborate with them. And in return, they should also recognize us. Now, the third biggest factor which supports Kaogi's statement is legislation. Legislation in our country is a very important tool. It's so hard to prescribe. It's so hard to make a memorandum that will be followed by all cooperatives. The best is to make a legislation that is both coming from us and composed and formulated by our representatives in Congress. It's a good thing we have a party list system in the Philippines, which in other countries they don't have. Again, the outcome of this partnership would surely recognize our identity, and the outcome of these partnerships would surely make our lives better as cooperatives and as co-op enterprises, as mentioned by Roy Miklat a while back. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Sir Alex, for that last point you mentioned, the partnership and so-called collaboration with government in pursuing our cooperatives' interests. Now, I'm sure everyone is full of ideas and informations. But before we go to our respective lunch, may I present the synthesis of this activity, of this event. I hope I get all the sharing and the important inputs shared by Director Balu, our reactors, and our cooperative leaders that intervene or suggested their views and opinions in this topic. Ma'am, can I share? All right. Nakikita na po ba? Kita na? It's all right.
Yes, nakikita na.
Thank you. I'll start from the beginning. Okay. So thank you very much for the presence and contributions of our different cooperative leaders here, particularly the inputs of Director Balu Ayer in this Cooperative Identity Forum with International Cooperative Alliance. Of course, the cooperative sector's engagement, both at the local and national levels, are now recognized partly by the government, especially in its role in continuing contribution in the fight against COVID-19. We participate and engage in the arena of governance and as conduits of the government in the delivery of services and programs for our members and our community. Of course, we need to step back and reflect on our identity in all this engagement, because according to President Alex, the importance of collaboration and partnership so that cooperatives should be recognized by the government in our continuing support and effort, especially in this time of pandemic. We need not to forget our values and principles in all arenas of governance, be it in our organization or in representing cooperatives at the international, national, and local levels. By reflecting in our cooperative identity, it guides us in our way of collective lives, in decision-making, in the crafting of our plans, like MASPEC, example this morning, for the development of the cooperative sector and the nation as a whole. It will also ensure that the cooperatives are practicing one of the basic principles of cooperativism, and that is autonomy and independence. That this was fully discussed by Director Balu, Father Anton, and other reactors, including Chair Gary. Oh, sorry. All right. Okay, the highlights of the forum are the following. Of course, Yusek Joy and Cabo mentioned that cooperativism is part of our everyday lives. I think Director Balu, at the end of this conversation, also mentioned that cooperativism should be a way of life to promote each other's growth and well-being. Yusek Joy emphasized the role of the cooperatives in nation building, and he mentioned that cooperative sector must have shared vision, shared actions, and one goal. Sa kooperatibang matatag, walang maiiwan, sama-sama nating tahakin ang daan tungo sa tagumpay ng kooperatibang sektor ng mga Pilipino. He also emphasized that the cooperative should adopt a cooperative dialogue in the development of the cooperative. In his welcome remarks, Chairperson Gary Leonardo of PCC raised a question, why do we need to deepen and promote the cooperative identity? He emphasized that we need to redefine and clarify our cooperative identity from an individual perspective and from an organizational perspective as well. Hence, he mentioned that we need to promote cooperatives principles and the ICA 5 global dimension, one of which the identity, legal framework, among others. The promotion of the cooperative identity is very important, especially in this time and moving forward to a better normal situation. The real identity of the cooperatives are best shown in this crisis. And this is caring for our communities and, of course, the cooperation among cooperatives. This is the real identity of the cooperative, according to Chair Gary. Ma'am Lucy Puro, during her solidarity remarks, emphasized our collective well-being through alliance and network building in pursuing the cooperative sector's agenda at the local and national level. The cooperative identity will unite us to work for the common good, different from a corporation. A strong foundation that will set the cooperative apart from other institutions. As for President Ariel Guarco of the International Cooperative Alliance, he emphasized the values and principles of cooperativism that brings us together with divergent roots. Cooperatives conduct activities for the common good so that no one will be left behind. In facing the pandemic, cooperative vision is very important. He said that a just, peaceful, and solidarity solution in resolving the crisis point of order for the cooperatives, especially in solving the crisis at the moment. Cooperatives must continue to ensure that its vision, mission, goals are integrated in the economic, political, and cultural spheres of our society. Director Baloyer, our resource, the definition of the cooperative is one form of emphasizing the importance of a cooperative identity. He also mentioned that cooperatives are different from micro, small, medium enterprises, and different from a corporation as well. This might note that we will continue to engage the government in the crafting of Philippine Development Plan, that we need to differentiate cooperatives from corporations and MSMEs, because usually the government includes us in these categories instead of our own cooperative identity, and that we are a cooperative enterprise, that we need to engage this government in developing a plan, particularly in the coming 2022 to 2027 or 2028 Philippine Cooperative Development Plan. Director Balu Ayer mentioned the external and internal weaknesses and threats or opportunities and threats in the cooperative. So these are the trends he mentioned, which I don't need to be repeating. Based on that, however, Director Balu stressed that cooperatives should be autonomous and independent, even if it's engaging and collaborating with the government and other institutions for the benefit of the sector and the society as whole. He challenged that cooperatives ought to be leaders rather than followers, based on their distinct cooperative identity, which provides them with legitimacy as enterprises in the service of people and common good, rather than capital and profit. That's our difference from corporation, the term capital and profit. He also mentioned the role of youth and women in mainstreaming cooperative identity and reminded the cooperatives should not be co-opted by the market rules, but maintains its cooperative rules as what he showed us in the evolutionary trajectory of cooperative profiles by Daniel Coates. Director Balu Ayer also mentioned the role of Apex organization. Thank you, Director Balu, for stating the role of PCC and its importance in the advocacies, both at the national, local, regional, and even international level. And the use of the e-platform to promote and mainstream cooperatives and the economic, political, and cultural consciousness of the citizenry. Ways forward, he mentioned these 7 challenges. Amendment in Cooperative Act that makes it easier for people to form cooperatives, advocate with government to make policies that encourage the development of cooperatives, participation of representation, particularly of the youth in cooperatives, the data on cooperatives, the contribution of cooperatives to the economy. I think this was mentioned also by CEO Roy on the gross domestic product, the co-op branding, and the important role of the cooperatives in terms of research to innovate, to integrate, and to demonstrate further the importance of cooperatives in our society. Father Anton raised or articulated 5 cooperative way of doing co-ops in the cooperative identity, and that the cooperatives are ideological based social enterprise, which later on he mentioned and I think recognized CEO Roy's articulation of cooperatives as a cooperative enterprise. Okay, and the cooperative has an ideology which we call it the cooperative way of doing co-op. Number 2, he emphasized the 6 values and 7 principles of the co-op ideals, the cooperative way, which must be embodied by the cooperative leaders, especially the board. And he mentioned that leadership by example, nothing more and nothing less. He also shared that we need some co-op measurement or tools to evaluate the social impact, how we live out the cooperative way. These indicators, qualitative indicators, is important in practicing our everyday lives, the values and principles of cooperativism. And lastly, the union system, which is enshrined in the Cooperative Code, particularly Article 25 of the Philippine Cooperative Code, where he mentioned that a cooperative union is the official representative of the cooperative sector in every city, province, regions toward a national apex. the mantra, a strong cooperative movement, a strong cooperative sector, and a strong cooperative sector is a strong cooperative union. It is the union function that promotes and advocates the cooperative way in the whole cooperative movement. As for Director Chair Tony Arañas, he stressed the following: the need to go back to old ways of orienting new prospective members, cooperatives to maintain its identity and not to adopt corporate policies on governance, the rotation of leaders. Thank you again for mentioning PCC, Director Tony Chair Arias, on the recognition of Apex and the important role in shepherding cooperatives. And lastly, the cooperative subjects shall be integrated in all levels of education. I think this was also emphasized during the open forum. Director Chair Tony also said that we should be autonomous and independent from the government's function as well. And that government should be an enabler and not strictly as regulator. CEO Nadette Toledo, a while ago, mentioned the crucial role of the members to achieve the movement's vision. And this is for all the members to enjoy a better quality of life. The foundation of any cooperative is an active membership and directly supporting the cooperative programs, livelihood activities, and services. Cooperation among cooperatives is clearly a cooperative identity, not competition as what is given in a corporate world. During the open forum or the sharing of ideas, CEO Noel Raboy put forward a discussion on one co-op vote, one co-op, one vote. And we agreed that this is a continuing discourse, especially those federations and unions where in their respective bylaws, a proportional representation is allowed in the cooperative assembly. So this will be a continuing discussion among us in the cooperatives. As for Tagum Cooperatives, Gertrudes Yap, this one is very important. That he posed a question where is it a cooperative is a social enterprise operating for profitability and not a profitable enterprise doing social responsibilities. This ignited a lively discourse leading to the intervention later on, which I will show by CEO Roy Miklat of Ponce ISP. But before that, CEO Cielo Garrido of the San Dionisio Credit Cooperative mentioned that or her concern is that cooperative is not yet recognized as the alternative, as an alternative to the status quo, as an alternative to the status quo. And that is the dominance of corporations in the way of life, in the way of lives of our cooperative members. She also mentioned the importance of, I think this was one of the suggestions that the importance of cooperative education, promoting cooperatives, the crucial role of institutions, academia, and cooperatives to mainstream cooperatives as an alternative to corporations. That is the part where Ma'am Cielo raised this concern. And so this is now, I think, the question raised by Sir Yap is a cooperative a social enterprise for profit, and so on and so forth. CEO Roy Miklat put a very convincing and I think a very good point in this discussion that no, cooperative is a cooperative enterprise per se. It is different from social enterprise that is coined by NGOs. So when we promote cooperativism, we promote cooperative enterprises in the mainstream. We should show to the public that the cooperative is the third pole in our economy. We must show that we are contributors to the Philippine gross domestic product. I think in 2019, we have this discussion where several key leaders of the cooperative sector, together with the CDA, started to discuss how do we measure cooperatives' contribution in the gross domestic product yearly. This one is, I think, a very good start again to tap these cooperative leaders, the CDA, and other institutions to return and go back to the drawing board regarding this cooperatives' contribution to the gross domestic product. And of course, values and principles should prevail. CEO Roy Miklat differentiated cooperatives to that of MSMEs and corporations, where we have this set of values and we have these principles of cooperativism. As for Ma'am Lucy Puro, the chair of United Cooperative Movement, she articulated the two sides of the coin, and one of which is the association of people, that is cooperative, and also cooperative is an enterprise, further supporting the assertion of CEO Roy Miklat in his intervention. But Ma'am Chair Lucy stated that there should be enabling laws to support the nourishment of cooperatives, particularly on social capital and human resources. And that she echoed as well that the developmental function should be the primary role of the federations, unions, and primary cooperatives, and not the state. This was also, I think, mentioned in previous presentation of Director Balu. As to Sir Roger Dical of CBM Multipurpose Cooperative, he suggested that there should be an intervention in the education system. Cooperatives should be integrated, need to be advocated, and be lobbied, no? In all levels of education, whether that is in the primary, secondary, and even in college. But Director Balu mentioned that it's not only in the four sides, no, or the four corners of the classroom where we should learn cooperatives. Cooperatives should be a way of life. And lastly, as per President Alex Rafrepo, partnership and collaboration with government is very important. We need to complement the government's function. Also, the government should complement us. And in the long run, cooperatives should be recognized, particularly its contributions in the economy, in the fight against COVID-19, among others. Okay, in closing, as we set our foot forward to a better normal, let our identity as cooperative leave a mark in the economic, political, and cultural spheres of our society. I think this was also mentioned by Chair Gary. And that is, the Philippine cooperative is the model preferred by the people, also emphasized by CEO Ma'am Shelo, an acknowledged leader in sustainability and the fastest growing form of, not anymore a social enterprise, fastest growing form of enterprise where we empower and uplift the lives of our members and the communities. Happy Cooperative Month from the Philippine Cooperative Center, co-convener of the United Cooperative Movement of the Philippines. Good afternoon. Okay, back to you, Ray and Ma'am Cheska.
Hello. Again, thank you for that synthesis, Sir Edwin. And again, we would like to give our thanks all our speakers, to our presenters, to Director Balu, and to all the reactors who share their ideas, to all those leaders and cooperators who ask questions, who participated in the forum discussion a while ago, that helped Sir Edwin craft a more immersive document that we can actually share later. Some people are already asking for a copy of the synthesis and Director Balu's presentation. So to show our gratitude to our speakers and to our reactors, I would like again to call Sir Edwin, our CEO, to present the certificate of appreciation to our speakers and presenters and reactors. Sir Edwin.
Okay, while we are about to present our certificate of appreciation or recognition, may we request everyone to open their video as we are now taking our photo ops in this activity. And after this certificate of appreciation will be awarded, of course, Sir Noel Raboy will deliver his closing remarks. So may I read now the content of our certificate of appreciation or recognition? Thank you, Ma'am Kat. And I will read this on behalf of Chair Gary, our chairperson of the Philippine Cooperative Center. Certificate of recognition is hereby awarded to Mr. Balasubramanian Balu Ayer, Regional Director, International Cooperative Alliance, Asia Pacific, in recognition for his meritorious service and participation as resource speaker during the virtual forum with ICA and the Philippine Cooperative Sector, Cooperative Identity, held this 11th day of October 2021 via Zoom, signed by Dr. Garibaldi O. Leonardo, our chairperson, the Philippine Cooperative Center. Of course, in partnership with the United Cooperative Movement of the Philippines. Next, Ray. Of course, also, a certificate of recognition is hereby awarded to Father Anton City Pascual, to Director Chair Antonio Arañas, and Ma'am CEO Bernadette O. Toledo, in recognition for their meritorious service and participation as reactors during the virtual forum with ICA and the Philippine Cooperative Sector Cooperative Identity, held this 11th day of October 2021 by Zoom, signed by Chairperson Garibaldi O. Leonardo, and of course, with cooperation and participation of the United Cooperative Movement of the Philippines. Thank you, Director Balu, Father Anton, Director Chair Antonio Arias, and of course, Ma'am CEO Nadette Toledo. Ba natin silang pusuan? Puso-puso. Thank you. Kerry, back to you.
Okay, again, I hope everybody learned so much in the discussion today, and I've been seeing the comment section, and that the discussion on, well, expanding more than the identity is really engaging, and that they're really thankful for the things that they have learned in this forum. And we hope from the organizers of this event that more than what we have learned today, we will be keep learning on and moving on from what we have gathered on the information that was presented to us by Director Balu, especially today. So as it's already nearly lunch, we're going to be closing the activity already, and I would like to call my co-host, sorry, to present for the person to be speaking for our closing remarks. Ma'am Jessica?
Okay, he's the first to engage with our presenters, no, during the open forum. So without any further ado, for the closing remarks, may we have the President and CEO of the Climbs Life and General Insurance Cooperative, Sir Noel Raboy. Sir, good afternoon po.
Thank you to the organizers. I would like to thanks for this big event, and to our resource speaker, Mr. Balu Ayer, and then with the reactors, Father Anton Pascual, and then also with the Mr. Aranyas, also is our very active in climbs, and Ma'am Bernadette Toledo, and also with the synthesis of Edwin. I'm very thankful for everybody joining here in this event. Again, as we practice on our cooperative identity, the best and the controlled area or place where we can give it is through our PMES. I will borrow that to the old school as said by Mr. Aranyas. And lastly, to give us the essence also, the third stanza of our pledge. Harmony industry, I will value. Cooperative affairs, I will attend. Responsibilities, I will assume. One co-op philosophy, I will live. And the successful or model cooperative are those people empowered by the co-ops that they join. Thank you and magandang happy lunch lahat.
Thank you again, everybody. And before that, we would like to ask everyone to give their feedbacks on our event today. So in the future, we will have more of these kinds of events, inviting more participants and allies of the cooperative sector from the other countries, so we can have a more international. So as that, again, thank you to our cooperators who are with us today. And
we want to invite everyone now while you're leaving the room that for the whole week we have a back-to-back times 6
sunod-sunod po yan lahat.
cluster forums starting 4 in the morning. Maritime Finance Cluster on legislative support for the Cooperative Stabilization Fund. And then in the afternoon, we have the Public Utilities Cluster, ulat ng transport cooperatives sa sector. While on the next day, that's Wednesday, October 13, in the morning, we'll have the Marketing Cluster, promoting cooperative products, programs, and service through cooperative value chain model. Our presenters here are FPSCDC and One Cop Mark Federation. And then we'll have speakers from ACTC and PhilMec in the afternoon of October 13, that's Wednesday, to discuss the agricultural cooperatives' access to finance and programs, a continuing challenge or opportunity. And for the last day, October 14, we shall have strengthening the cooperative union system with the education and advocacy cluster. The presenters here are our cooperative union leaders, and we have here resource persons from COUNTPA and UMMC. And then for October 14 in the afternoon, we shall, after the whole week of Zoom meetings, magkakaroon tayo ng tips on how to handle yung fatigue through webinars, mental break, phases of depression and anxiety in workplace, and managing mental stress. Okay, so we will have partners and resource persons from CHMF to discuss this very topic. And with that, we hope that you could join us for the rest of the week at marami pa to celebrate our Cooperative Month. Magandang tanghali at magandang buhay. Isn't that a TV show? Sa ating lahat. And happy lunch po. Goodbye. Salamat po.
Before we close, okay pa naman habang nag-leave, I think the suggestion of Sir Alex, we will finalize the documentation of this forum And based on the said documentation, we will furnish you continuing discussion on COP identity, particularly if we want to resolve several issues raised during this forum. Of course, we would like to be thankful. We would like to thank ICA Baluayer and all other interventionists, particularly on the suggestions raised, because this will be our continuing discussion, and we will inform everyone on the next, not this cooperative month, but probably sometime in November for the follow-up discussion on probably resolutions that we need to finalize based on the issues raised herein in a very productive forum we had today. So thank you po at magandang tanghali po sa lahat. I think nakapag-picture naman na tayo, no? Okay, so nakapag-picture naman po na. Yung pong hindi pa nakakapag-submit nung kanilang attendance, last call po before we close this Zoom room para po doon may padala yung inyo pong mga request ng PowerPoint presentations at yung documentation na rin po namin gagawin. So we will share again the ito na po, no? So dalawa po yung ating pong yung pong attendance and yung feedback po na hinihingi po ng PCC Secretariat. And thank you very much Philippine Cooperative Secretariat, Ma'am Cheska, Ma'am Nicole, Ma'am Kat, Ray, also UCMP, Ma'am Lucy, Doc Mai, Sir Carl, Ma'am Celia, during the brainstorming and discussion of the program. We also would like to thank the different ICA Philippine affiliates, the NATCO network of cooperatives, One Cooperative Insurance of the Philippines or One CISP, Climbs Life and General Insurance Cooperatives, Climbs, Federation of People Sustainable Development Cooperative, FPSDC, Victo National Cooperative Federation and Development Center, Victo National, MASPEC Cooperative Development Center, MASPEC, Metro South Cooperative Bank or MSCB, Network Consolidated Cooperative Bank or NCCB, Union of Legitimate Service Contracting Cooperatives, ULSCC, Aurora Integrated Multipurpose Cooperative, AIM-Co-op, and of course the Cooperative Development Authority, and last but not the least, the Philippine Cooperative Center. These are the members of the International Cooperative Alliance, Philippines. Thank you, and have a happy lunch.
Bye-bye.